conspirators, conspiracy, and the creators of the new world. And today is Oya, Jemaya, Oshun, Iyami Ajay, the divine architects of existence, usheresses of the new age. And I'm going to add, all the divine ancestors in the Ashe of every mother on earth to break every curse caused by, to break every curse ever cast upon the mother and her children in all timelines and in every dimension. Mommy and I are one. We, the mother's divine children, conspire together today to forever bind those who have or would harm you, great mother. Mommy and I are one. We conspire together today to destroy everything and everyone in every timeline and dimension that has caused suffering and despair. Mommy and I are one. Today, we embody the sacred and divine power of our mothers. Today, we the tree, we the weavers, rewrite all time. Today, we the tree, we the weavers, rewrite the book of life. Today, we, our mother's children, call the winds of change. We conjure the primordial dark. We summon the sacred serpent deep from within the earth. We subdue the rogue sun. We control the light. We heal the harmed. We embolden the fearful. We instill courageous action. Today, we are staging a global evolution as is our mother's divine will. Mommy and I are one. We, the architects of the new age, now create the new institutions, the new traditions, the new culture, the new ways of being. We ecstatically welcome the radical destruction of all institutions of harm, hate, and harm erected by the godheads of war. Mommy and I are one. We have the power. We have the voice. We are the portals of change. Now we employ our sacred breath, and we give life and sacred blood to this conspiracy. Mommy and I are one. We command, come the wind, come the storm, come the lightning, capture and judge all godheads of war and all the betrayers of the mother's divine will. Bring your confusion and war to an immediate end. Scatter them to oblivion, never to be resurrected. We are the fates. We are the furies. We are the Iyami Ajay. We are the disseminators of divine time, divine retribution, and divine rectification and evolutionary justice. Mommy and I are one. We are the restorers of heaven on earth under the mother's divine reign. We wake the sacred serpent from her sleep to assist us in this sacred assignment. Mommy and I are one. Love unlimited is our birthright. Harmony is our birthright. Ecstasy is our birthright. Pleasure is our birthright. Freedom is our birthright. This is her divine will, and we are the executors. We are the divine executors of her will. We speak her will into the now to reverberate throughout all time, all space, and all dimensions. It is certainly as we say forever and ever. Mommy and I are one. Mommy and I are one. Mommy and I are one. All right, greetings, family. How y'all doing? Greetings, Phoenix Rising. Greetings, Nina Marie. Greetings, Java Watson. Thank you for the donation. Greetings, Fire. Okay. Greetings, Vayoni. How you doing? All right. So I have a lot to discuss with you, and I'm still trying to prioritize because it's been ongoing. I don't know about the rest of y'all. I mean, I know I have a peculiar, calling on being the perpetual deep diver or what have you. But I am just experiencing something different these days. It's deeper than just me going into wormholes. You feel me? And so there's a couple of things. I should mark these things. But I also want to, I'll probably, you know what? Before I even get distracted, let's go ahead and read the prophecy delivered to us in the year 150 AD by an unnamed Sibyl. Thrice 300 years having run their course of fulfillment, Rome by the strife, her people shall perish. Rome is doomed to perish, and that indeed by the judgment of God, because it held her name in hatred, being the enemy of right to the people who kept the truth. There shall come to thee sometime from above a heavenly stroke deserved, O haughty Rome, and thou shalt be the first to bend thy neck and be razed to the ground, and thee shall fire destructive utterly consume, cast down upon thy pavements, and thy wealth shall perish, and wolves and foxes dwell in thy foundations, and then thou shalt be wholly desolate as if not born. And last, we're going to read the glorious conspiracy of the temple of evolutionary emergence. uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Well, I usually have that marked. Here it is. I, Cassandra Faye Floyd, as a peculiar expression of the almighty divine she, the great cosmic mother, now join in breath with my global family to conspire on behalf of the whole made well. We are breathing these words together to ensure that our home, her body, is restored to her original perfect glory. Her glory is perfect in peace, love, bliss, happiness, and ecstasy. This world exists because we collectively will it so. We, as the representatives of the Mother's reign on Earth, speak this beautiful conspiracy as a single cosmic earthly orchestra to guarantee heaven on earth in joyful compliance with our Mother's divine will. Possessing the power of our mothers, we speak this glorious future now. It is certainly as we say, Mommy and I are one. All right. So let me figure out how to get myself. I'm at home, but I wanted to be outside. I haven't left the house from out. You know what? I know exactly what I'm gonna do. Let me put a blanket on the ground, and I'm gonna sit in the sun a little bit. I've literally been locked in front of the computer since I hit the floor this morning. So I'm just gonna set up a quick blanket, and then we're gonna get started with what I want to talk to y'all about today. So just give me a second. I gotta ghetto rig my setup. You feel me? All right. So let's do that. That can stay. Ooh, that might work. Will that work? That will work, I think. Okay. Speak a will into the now to reverberate throughout all time, all space, and all dimensions. It is as he say, forever and ever, Mommy and I are one. All right, I think that we'll do. Let's see, maybe. We shall see. I'm gonna have to do some ordinary like rigging. Ooh, that might work better. Hold on. Okay. Oh shit. I can't see y'all. Can y'all see me? Yeah, I think you can, but I can't see y'all because the sun is blinding. Actually, you know what? Maybe I should turn this around like so. Nope. I'll do it just like that. Yes. Okay. Well, maybe. Let me see. That's gonna have to do because I can't be out here all day. You know what? Let me try one more thing. Because the sun is a little bit more booming than I thought it was gonna be. Usually there's enough of a breeze where I can sit in the sun and not roast. I feel a roasting coming on. Hold on. figure out how my screen looks so janky. All right, that's gonna have to do. Okay. Okay. I meant to grab a ponytail holder. I say even my eyes feel sensitive. I've been in my dark ass apartment all morning. Okay, so a little bit of housekeeping first, and then we can get to it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So my name is Cassandra Faye Floyd, also known as the Daughter of the Fates, founder of the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. And we have a lot to discuss today. But before we do that, I'm going to call on you to be generous today in your donations. I'm going to call on you to book your readings. I want to shout out those who have heeded the call over the last 48 hours. Those of you who have either booked your readings, your divination, and I still haven't cut myself off from 5 Elements consults. So I am still willing to take consults, but we're going to have to do like I said. You know what I'm saying? I can send you what you need, bullet point style, boom, 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 boom. But these long, drawn out, like, dissertations that I've been sending, I'm not doing that no more. But it's interesting, the moment that I make the declaration out loud that I'm not doing consults anymore, I got 3 requests back to back for a wellness consultation. So I was like, all right. So if you are still interested and you want to receive a consultation, then email me at evoemetemp@gmail.com. It's pressing. My landlord is up my behind like a bad infection. Feel me? And so I have to stay him off. And so, yes, please, support, and and we can talk about other things. There are other ways that I can show up for you guys over this next week. Then the other thing is I posted. It's such a tedious process, but I have posted about 5 new pieces on my Etsy store. I still have about 10 unique pieces that I have to post. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time today trying to get that done. But right now I do have about 5, maybe 6 unique pieces. I know some of y'all had inquired about some of the pieces I showed y'all earlier this week. So I do have some of those up. So I would encourage you to go to my Etsy store. Just go to etsy.com and put in the search engine Daughter of the Fates, Fates, or you can do daughterofthefates.etsy.com. Some people it works, some people it doesn't. I do not know why. I'm sorry. You feel me? Then if you want to make donations directly to me, then, which is awesome and helpful, you can do that by using the temple's email address, which is evoemetemp@gmail.com. That email you can use for both Zelle and PayPal, okay? And then for Cash App, it is $ Daughter of the Fates, Fates, and for Venmo, it is Cassandra, Cassandra -Floyd, Floyd. I want to make this disclaimer, okay, especially with PayPal. If you're making any kind of donation, contribution, if you are paying for a service, always when it asks you what it's for, put donation in the box, and make it so that the fees are not coming out on my end, okay? They have been, because I get docked twice. It takes a certain amount of money for me to retrieve the money, but off the last 3 days that people have been paying with PayPal, which is the worst, PayPal will take $10 off the top before they even charge me to transfer the money to my account, okay? PayPal is the worst. I'm really trying to come up off of that, but I know there's a lot of people in foreign countries, for whatever reason, only really have the ability to use PayPal. Okay. For example, I got a sister who inquired yesterday about getting a wellness consultation, and she's in South Africa. You feel me? I had another woman 2 days ago hit me up, and she is in New Zealand. She wants to interview me. So this thing is picking up speed. All of these people reached out because of the conspiracy. That was their primary reason, or introductory reason for reaching out, was about the conspiracy. And then the matter of fact came where they wanted 5 elements consultation. So those are the announcements in general, I believe, right? So it's the Etsy store. And for those who do not have a copy of the, there is one more thing, but those of you who do not yet have the directions for the conducting of the ritual and the copy of the conspiracy to right all wrongs, email me at evoemetemp@gmail.com so I can send you the link where you can get that and get on board. August 25th is quickly approaching, and we need to power up on this conspiracy. I also want to make another announcement that several of you, I made the announcement only once this week, but I want to be regular about it. Those of you who would like to receive the MP3, the audio version of the conspiracy to right all wrongs, email me at evoemetemp@gmail.com. That is 5 versions. It's not just one MP3. It is actually 5 different versions of the conspiracy to right all wrongs. So if you want to receive those MP3s, email me at evoemetemp@gmail.com. There was one more thing. The big thing. So I'd been threatening for a while, but this is a great weekend, and you'll understand why I'm making this announcement today. I've already told you because I've been trying to be consistent this week with putting y'all up on game about what is happening in the heavens that we can tap into, and not in a small. Before I even get there, I wanted to remind you guys that I am posting very, very regularly, several times a day on my YouTube page in the community section. So that's like your little social media section where you can just, you can post pictures, or you can share videos, or whatever. I am posting on there a lot for a reason. One reason is, and I know y'all are going to be disappointed, but one reason is I'm really trying to get off all unnecessary social media. My Facebook page, I don't get the kind of traffic, or I don't get the kind of traffic on my Facebook page that really, that really is beneficial to the temple in any way, right? And so I was just thinking about it today, and I've been thinking about it for a while, but today in particular, I was like, I don't know if people are not seeing my stuff. I don't know if, the algorithm, whatever, but I'm not getting enough traffic to justify even spending any time monitoring that page. So eventually, in the very near future, I've already gotten rid of my Twitter account, completely scrubbed and deleted my Twitter account, but I want to do the same thing for my Facebook account. That being said, I appreciate the fact, I like the fact that YouTube does have that as a kind of, people don't use it as much for that, but it's still a way for us to keep in contact until I get the website up, which is, it's my ambition to have it up before the end of the month. I've already started sending my web guy content. I got to get fresh pictures. I don't have any current fresh pictures of myself. So I have to collect some pictures, but I've already started creating content like text for the website. It is my ambition. It is actually not just my ambition. It's my priority to get the website up and running before the end of the month. Okay. Now, the last thing that I want to say, and you're going to understand the reason why I'm pressing today, is because I've talked about these things off and on, but this week is so big. I've been saying it for a long time. I've been saying really the rest of the month. Every astrologer, they're talking about the whole month of July is just game changing. It's permanently game changing from the first day to the last. But this middle section from really the 4th to the 18th is massive. It's huge. right? And how can we take advantage of it? What do we need to know? What are the intricacies that we need to know about what is happening in the month of July? And can that inform us of how we need to step out into the world, okay? So the reason I'm saying that is because there's 2 projects that I'm going to start rigorously working on this weekend. And that is, oh man, dang. And that is, man, I didn't even realize it got like that. Well, that's no good, dang. These are finite. I'm gonna have to go and offer those back to the earth. That's an unfortunate thing. Okay, so these are finite, like extremely finite. And these I already put out under the full moon a couple of days ago to go ahead, and I've already prepped the area for them. So these are going to be finite. Let me see how many I have. Let's see. I should have counted these before I got up on here. Let's see. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 29. Okay, so I have 29 of these. I'll show you in a second. So what I'm about to show you, both things that I'm about to show you, I am going to mount to pendants. I am going to mount to pendants. It's the only way you will be able to receive them because they are finite. So 1 per person. So I will be mounting these 2 pendants, and I will be, when they will come with a meditation, for each one, okay? So these are huge. They happen once a season, but these are the scarabs that I was telling you about. You can't see in this light that well. I don't know why I'm getting this glare on my phone. You can't see that well, but these are the scarabs. I have 29 of these, and they're quite beautiful. Kind of wish their underbelly was on the top because they're quite beautiful, that kind of iridescent underbelly that they have. But when you get them, they will be translucent, so you'll be able to see on both sides, right? So the scarab, which for those of you who do not know, the scarab is the face, if you will, of the god of what essentially means immortality. It is the immortality of the birth, death, the birth, life, and death cycle and reincarnation cycle as personified. He is a representative, the beetle, of the sun god Ra, Horus, right? But he is also considered the consort of the god Khepri. So here you go. This is the starting process, okay? So I'm using resin. So this is the first one, right? He's still in there because I'm going to do one more coat on him. But this is him he's going to be mounted in resin. And then I'm going to pop him out of there, right? Pop him out of there and drill a hole through the resin. And I will mount him on a necklace, or you can specify if you want him strung, if you want to just keep it with you as a medallion. But typically what I'm going to do is drill a hole once I put the second layer of resin on it and string it so that you can wear it as a necklace medallion. And like I said, He will be translucent on both sides. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, the first week of this new year, and I've been holding on to this, wanting to be very, very careful with this extraordinary gift I was handed by Mother Nature Child. It was really the first week of the new year, and it's interesting because I don't know, there's been so much big stuff happening astrologically that I don't even know that people are paying attention to the fact that all of these massive astronomical occurrences that are happening, and we are hyper focused on the fact that they're happening within the context of America's first Pluto returns, that also when we entered this new year, it was also the Chinese year of the snake. So I go hiking for the first time in a long time, the first week of January, and I went away. I've never gone, and and it was the rough way or whatever, and Spirit gifted me with almost a 5-foot snake skin. I don't know if y'all can see that well, but it's a perfectly intact snake skin. So what I'm going to do, this is finite too. So what I'm going to do is I bought copper, bronze, and silver medallions. They're beautiful. They're about this big around, and they're depressed on the inside. So this is not going to be mounted on top. It's actually depressed on the inside. And so I am going to cut pieces of this serpent skin to place inside this medallion, and I'll do the same thing. I'll protect it with resin, and it too will come with a ritual meditation that you can use whenever you are wearing your snakeskin medallion. Those two things are finite, so I'm going to be working on them this weekend. Hopefully, it shouldn't be a problem. Hopefully, I can have at least one of each done before Monday, so I can post them, and at least you can make your order. You feel me? Okay, so let me do it like this. I'll take those back anyway. Yeah, just like that. All right, so that's that. So those are huge. And then I will also, for both of those, I will do a little write-up that I will stick in there with them on the spiritual significance of each one of those things. Snake skins is huge in almost every culture on earth. That if you find a snake skin, which is rare to do anyway, but if you find a snake skin, it's huge. In the South, where I am from, both my parents were born in New Orleans. Snake skin is huge in hoodoo tradition, hoodoo culture. Snakeskin is huge in most European cultures, so it's a big deal to just happen upon a snakeskin. It's huge, huge spiritual medicine. Okay, so that's that. I will make the commitment to at least have one of the scarabs and one of the snakeskin pendants done by tomorrow evening, so I can go ahead and post those. I'll post those on my YouTube community page as well as in the Etsy store, so that you can at least go ahead and start making your orders, because again, they are finite. I only have 29, well, really 28, because I'm going to keep one for myself, obviously. So 28 of the scarabs, and I can't really determine how many I will be able to get out of the snake skin yet, but I'll let y'all know around how many of those I will be able to make with the skin that I have. Okay? All right, that's it. Okay, so, okay, and I'll have to tell y'all one more thing. I can see that y'all have been making comments, but because of my, let me see if I can do something different, because I want to interact with y'all, but because of my rig setup, I couldn't even see that y'all were, was shouting me out. Oh, look at y'all. Y'all so sweet. Let's see. Yes, Java Watson, that line gets me every time. And I'm going to tell you know what? I should make a note of that. That line where she says, as if not born. Actually, it's actually relevant today. Go figure. It's actually relevant today for one of the things that I need to talk to you guys about. So let me make sure that I write that down so I don't forget it. Because I'm telling y'all, I hope y'all are paying attention. I hope y'all are paying attention. I know as the days go on, the noise gets louder, but I hope that y'all are really. Thank you for the donation, Fire. I hope y'all are paying attention. Java Watson, Vayoni, Fire, QB. Let's see, Nita Marie. Let's see who else up on here. Gisela is light. Greetings. Thank you for being here. Java Watson, thank you for the donation. I am on my phone, so I cannot comment with my hands for some reason. I can't send a text. So somebody do that for me. Somebody put in the chat the email address for the temple so those that come on late can see it too. EVO. As a matter of fact, Java Watson, will you make a commitment to do that every now and again? Just drop the temple email address in the comment section, like every maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes or something. EVOEMETEMP@gmail.com. Y'all hear the crows? I told you we got a squad of homies that be hanging out here in the back of our apartment complex. Oh, I'm in the back of my apartment complex. You hear him? I can't see him. Where you at? Because he's close. I can hear him. Oh, there he is. Y'all ain't going to be able to see him. He's going to be hidden by the pole. Let's see. We can post on the community center as followers. Yes, you can. We can comment. Yes, you can. You can comment on the community post. Yes. The Cash App is $ Daughter of the Faith. Somebody do that for me, because for whatever reason, while I'm live on my phone, it won't allow me to type into the comment section. So the Cash App is $ Daughter of the Fates, just like my YouTube channel, FATES, Fates. The Venmo is my name, CASSANDRA-FLOYD. The Zelle and Venmo is the temple's email address, EVOEMETEMP. Thank you so much, Constance Woo Woo. She says, don't forget to like the live because it helps the algorithm. As a matter of fact, not only don't forget to like the live, but also make sure that you send a quick share outwards, like, share to your Facebook or your Twitter or whatever. Okay. Let's see. Did YouTube delete the comment where I put the Zoom in? The Zelle. Oh, I don't know. I don't see it. Let's see. I typed her email, but I don't see it. Yes, I can see the emerald color. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, and like I said, when you Zoe Noel, I'm responding to you. It says, where can we order one? The Etsy store is, just go into Etsy.com and put Daughter of the Fates, FATES, or you can do daughterofthefates.etsy.com. Some people are able to go right there. Some people are not. So either way, you'll be able to get to it. And also for those of you who have not yet received the Conspiracy to Right All Wrongs and the directions that go with it, that too is on my Etsy shop, okay? Let's see. Dang, that's crazy. Why would they delete the Daughter of the Fates is still, the $ Daughter of the Fates is still there. EVO, they wouldn't let you post the email address, EVOEMETEMP@gmail.com. Yeah, I'm gonna have to edit this after I'm done. Like I said, I jumped right on here right when it was on time to do the the conspiracy. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm not trying to be on here forever. I literally have I say that every time I get on here, and it's because it doesn't, no matter how many hours I spend, it doesn't feel like I made a dent in the list of stuff I have to do. Okay, so anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And I just really want to give you the cliff notes of everything that you can, really make use of. I really try to. I know a lot of the stuff is interesting, but I'm really not trying to just entertain you. Like everything that I am researching, I am hoping can be of some immediate applicable use to you. You feel me? Other than just dope ass talking points. You feel me? So I really want to make sure you get the 411 on what you need, especially really through the rest of the month. Really, it's that deep, because I told you yesterday, the other big thing that's coming up next week is that Mercury is stationing retrograde. But there are already 2 other planets, big fucking planets, that are in retrograde right now. You feel me? So how do we make use of that? How do we play with these planets instead of assuming that a retrograde is, diabolical and means us harm or whatever the hell? You feel me? Okay. So first, I am going to open with some current events. Yes, I think that's where we're going to start, is with some current events. I have not done that since I started talking to you guys about, there it is. Okay, some current events. Since I started talking to you guys literally last month about the significance of July 4th and July 7th in particular, right? So I really wanted to start with that, because I hadn't paid, being so much in the deep dive, I haven't paid as much attention as I should have been. And like really condensing that. I've told y'all that if y'all find any news events that I might have missed specifically on those 2 days, July 4th and July 7th, those in particular, I really need us to be like just doing kind of like a grand sweep to see what we missed that could be of some significance to what I've been talking to you guys about since last month, about the significance of those 2 dates, okay? And it doesn't just have to be, quote, political occurrences on those days. Spiritual oddities, very awkward, weird news, anything. But you know what? As a matter of fact, especially spiritually weird, awkward, off the cuff, unexpected news. Those things are actually very, very important. I don't know if y'all remember when I started talking about the significance of Pluto in Aquarius, when we did that big old ritual on November 19th. Leading up to that, I was talking about it a lot, because all the astrologers were kind of hyper focusing on like historical political occurrences that were supposed to be indicative of the power, the permanently transformative power of Pluto in Aquarius. But everybody kept talking about like the political stuff and the religio-political events. And that was it. Some would talk about like innovations that happened during that period, but it was always like Eurocentric political events and religious political events. The thing that people kept talking about was like as the most permanently impactful religious event at this particular Pluto in Aquarius was not Pluto Aquarius. It was Pluto and Saturn in Capricorn. The Pluto and Saturn conjunction in Capricorn that happened on January 12th of 2020, literally 6 weeks before we entered the pandemic. And everybody kept talking about the evidence of the permanently transformative power of this event is it was in 1518 when Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses to the wall of the German Catholic Church, officially kicking off the Protestant Reformation of the church. That is still having an extraordinarily, not just having, right now today, we see the absolute malignant, crescendo of an impact of the Protestant Reformation of the church. As if the Roman Catholic Church wasn't bad enough, the Protestant church's permanent and deepening psychotic impact on the whole human race can not only still be felt today, but right now in real time. When we're talking about evangelical Southern Christians and this and Christian support of Zionism and all, this is the crescendo. This is the apex of that moment in 1518 when Martin Luther staged an opposition to the singular power of the Roman Catholic Church. And so, that's what they was focusing on. That same year was the first year that Portugal, there had already been what you would say was illegal or unofficial pirates and individuals funding trips to Africa to capture Africans and force them into the slave trade. But that same year, 1518, the Roman Catholic Church finally ordained, through the request of Portugal, ordained the slave trade, making it officially legal with the, quote, blessing of the Roman Catholic Church. That happened in 1518, right? But the other thing that nobody talked about that happened that same year, when I'm talking about witchy, weird, off the cuff events that are indicative of these movements, because it's not just the political world that is impacted by this shit. It's not just the, quote, state ordained religious world that's impacted by these events. This is real energy. This is real, right? And so there was an event that happened in 1518 in France called my neighbor's trying to pull out because I'm all sitting in the driveway. There was another, what I find is extraordinarily significant, and it's not the only time this happened in human history, by the way. But in France, it was the most well-documented, most well-known, and still unsolved mystery today. In 1512, in a village in France, which is still at the height of the Inquisition, this town was gripped by something called the dancing plague. It was gripped by something called the dancing plague, right? And by the end of this mysterious occurrence, where literally it started off with one person, and by the end of it, there were estimates of anywhere from 300 to 400 people had danced themselves to death. The dancing plague, I think it's called the dancing plague of 1518. So anyway, that's an oddity. Today, there's still scientists talking about it, trying to figure out what could have caused something of this magnitude and for it to be so mass. Some of the theories have been, maybe because there was no water purification and everybody drew their water from the same well, that maybe there was like a spore, like a mold or a fungus that had impacted the common water source or whatever. But to this day, there has been no definitive consensus about what gave rise to this dancing plague. I say all of that to say, be combing the internet, not only for modern news that's literally being force-fed down your throat. Also, when I found out about the dancing plague, when I was trying to find out what was happening in South America in 1518, what was happening in America in 1518, because nobody was talking about what was happening everywhere else. Everybody's history is still very heavily Eurocentric. And so when I started Googling things like weird events of 1518, unusual events of 1518, that's when the dancing plague came to me. So let me say one more thing. Don't use Google anymore. I got to keep saying that, because I just found this woman who was talking about a website, because I hate even saying that. I'll say Google, and I'll say, no, don't Google it, search it. Whatever search engine you use, do it. But this girl, let me see if I can find it really quick, was encouraging people to stop using the main major search engines. Here it is. So you can write this down if one of y'all can type it in the comment section. It's called Ecosia search engine. Ecosia search engine. ECOSIA. ECOSIA. And so apparently this is the only search engine right now that exists where the founder of the search engine takes no profits, that the profits are exclusively used to attempt to reverse climate change. And since they launched, they've planted over 10 million trees. Every time you click, like every time you use the search engine, because again, everything we do on this damn internet is monetized. Can you believe that? They said every time somebody searches in their search engine, there's money generated. That money generated, a percentage of it goes to plant another tree somewhere on Earth that's being devastated by climate change, by logging, that kind of stuff. I thought that was dope. So from here on out, that is the search engine I will be using. And I will be saying, when you search something, use that. So no more Google, no more quote, it's just easy or whatever. Use that search engine. Okay, I digress. Okay, so when you get ready to search anything, especially from the 4th and the 7th, email me, first of all. Email me. A lot of y'all do, but I keep those things. Everything you email me, I keep. I have folders in my email for those things that you send me, that whether it's movie recommendations, I got a whole folder of member movie recommendations, additional research information. So send me the stuff. I always compile it, take my notes from it or whatever. Okay, cool. So I want to start with some quick current events that I was like aware of, but I was not aware in passing, but not aware of the dates associated with these things. That's what I want to talk about very, very quick. Okay. So I told you July 4th was huge, and I was not aware until last night that the Camp Mystic floods in Texas, in Kirk County, Texas, I was not aware that flooding started in Texas on July 4th. On July 4th was the day that the Camp Mystic floods began. Now, they didn't start there, but by the time the storm reached Texas, right, Kirk County, Texas, the storm and the subsequent flooding started on July 4th. That is still heavily in the news. And the reason it's still heavily in the news is because the impact of this flood in this area of Texas, everybody that was horribly impacted, if you will, were all upper middle class or wealthy white people. The Camp Mystic, as a matter of fact, I saw another video a couple of days ago of this black woman. They were interviewing her, and she was like, I hate to say it was a blessing. She said, but I had been trying for months to enroll my daughter into, it was a sister. She said, I've been trying for months to enroll my daughter into Camp Mystic, and they kept telling me that they were filled up. And then lo and behold, all the way up to the week that the kids are supposed to be going to the camp, they were still allowing non-melanated people to pay to participate in the camp. So she said, so I'd spent the last 2 months knowing that it was racism, mad as hell because they wouldn't let my baby into the camp and I had the money to pay. And so they're interviewing her after the fact, and she was like, I hate to say it, but it was a blessing that they were racist. It was a blessing that they refused to let my baby into the camp. Okay? As of today, I took these notes last night, y'all. Last night. As of today, the loss of life count, yesterday it was at 120. Today it's at 129. They've recovered 9 more people. Of those 129 found, 36 of those were kids. 36 of those were children. The camp was for the wealthy. Admission into the camp, which was only, I think it was only like a week long or a 2 week long camp. It was very short. Was $5,000, and not one of the children was POC. Not one of the children was POC, right? And so I was watching this brother, who I like him. He hype, you feel me? I can't tell where he's from, but he remind me of my people. He remind me of my cousins, like especially one specific cousin. But anyway, his handle on YouTube is what is it called? Oh, Introvert Rockstar. I like his channel. Like I said, it ain't for the faint of heart. He a roughneck, but I like his take. I like his channel. You know what I'm saying? Even his take, though, was rough around the edges. I've not so far heard him come to any conclusions that were like reactionary. You know how like when you don't study and you just come to default reactionary dumbass conclusions? I have not seen that from him. I really love the coverage that he did during the Nottingham plantation that burnt to the ground. I really loved his take on that, right? So anyway, I was watching his channel last night, and I did not notice. I had not been paying attention, but this brother was like, as a matter of fact, the title of this live that I'm referencing of his is called "A Sundown Town Was Just Destroyed by a Flood." A sundown town was just destroyed by a flood. And then again, his handle is Introvert Rockstar. Okay. So anyway, so he goes a little bit into the history of the place is called Kerrville, and it's in Kerr County, Texas, right? Baby, Kerr County is 68% white, 26% Hispanic, 2% black, and 1% Asian or other. Did y'all hear me? 68% white, 26% Hispanic, 2% black, and 1% Asian and other. Okay. So he talks about the history of it being a sundown town, and he said, but not only because it wasn't just Kerr County. Shortly, just a few days, I think it was on the 6th when that storm reached landfall in North Carolina. And isn't this interesting? This is the second time in less than a calendar year, that North Carolina has been hit by a devastating storm. North Carolina is really far inland to be experiencing that kind of blowback from, and it's the more inland areas. It's not the areas that are more coastal, because that's where all the black folks live. Just in case you don't know nothing about North Carolina, like Raleigh, all those lowland places, like those more kind of low level places, those are all more near like the coastal border. But all of those more inland places, way inland, like North Carolina sits right on top of, between, like straddling northern Alabama and northern Georgia. You feel me? And so those places are, child, I love Asheville, North Carolina. I love it. To drive there is to be overwhelmed. Everything you see for miles around is beauty beyond what you can express. You've never seen that kind of green. The place is beautiful. However, and I've been to Asheville many, many times. I have a lot of friends there. But every single solitary time I go, it like slaps you in the face. I'm like, damn, where is there not one other black person in this city? every restaurant that you go into, no matter what kind of restaurant it is. We had Indian food there one day. All the servers were white. All the people behind the veil cooking was non-white. It was like, and that's the paradox. As people in this country think, quote, to be progressive is automatically synonymous with not racist. That they think that as long as they're nice to you, or they talk to you, or they like black music, or they're not an outright, quote, redneck racist, that somehow they are exempt. And so these people who live in a town like Asheville, who are so super progressive, is a straight up artist town. I have a lot of friends that moved there after college, like after we were all in college. And it never ceases to amaze me when a friend will invite me, of course, a white friend, will invite me to come hang out in Asheville, and I will go, and it's like a giant, like somebody just punched you in your teeth. Like, I'm like, does it not occur to any of y'all that invite me out here that like there are no black people here? Like at all. Like when I tell you at all, I mean like at all. I can't even count how many times I've been to Asheville. And I'm like, this a whole city of like hippies and artists and musicians and progressives and the most progressive people you've ever met, and everybody's a spiritual healer and all of this thing, baby. So progressive does not mean much when you can live in a city in the United States of America, not just in the United States of America, in a portion of the country that is the most densely populated with black people, and you can look around and it never occurred to you like, damn, why there ain't no black people here? why there ain't no black people where I live in this beautiful, trendy, posh, artistic town? I digress. You feel me? But anyway, so he's talking about North Carolina and how maybe a day and a half, 2 days after the devastation hit Texas, North Carolina took a hit, specifically Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Chapel Hill, North Carolina, right? And one of the things that he pointed to, which was really interesting, he said right there, Chapel Hill, North Carolina is where the University of North Carolina is, right? And he said that in 1937, on November 17th of 1937, the Imperial Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, Dr. Hiram Evans, delivered a speech at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, by invite. Okay. He was like, these contradictions just keep coming up, right? He talked about everybody was crying crocodile tears about the Nottoway plantation being burnt to the ground. But even in the height of that happening, nobody conveniently remembered the legacy of Nottoway plantation. That if enslaved people were disobedient or trying to make a break or whatever, they transgressed seriously enough that the punishment specific to Nottoway was to feed enslaved Africans to the alligators in Louisiana. I had never heard that. I know the legacy of that mess in Florida, but I had never heard that. And so he says that was a standard punishment if the, quote, transgression of the enslaved person was serious enough. They would take them out to the swamps and feed them to the alligators. He said, he talked about that dude, Daniel Penny. You remember the Marine who killed Jordan Neely? He said white Americans raised $2.9 million, even though they saw the video of him killing this young person. And so he just talked about, the contradictions and how, he started out by saying a lot of people are saying that especially these natural disasters are ancestral retribution. You feel me? Now, we started doing the Global Conspiracy to Right All Wrongs on May 20th. So that's another homework assignment that I have for us, not just to find significant news from July 4th and July 7th, but we should be a lot more diligent about finding significantly impactful news headlines that have occurred and will occur between May 20th and August 25th when we close out the ceremony. So that is everybody's homework. If something passes by you, a headline that you think I need to keep, because I am keeping a log of these events, both bad and good. You feel me? Both witchy and political. You feel me? Even if you find something that is because of the planets that are in play, almost all of them have something to do with abundance, with finance, with the systems of finance, with raw materials, right? And so even those things that you may not think are seemingly related, any kind of innovation, any kind of radical changes around currency, around how we buy, sell, and trade, anything that has to do with the economic world, those things too that are unusual, you feel me, that are stand out, that scream out, those things we need to be paying attention to and sending those to me so I can compile what is happening this year. Okay, so that was one headline. I was not aware that that flood in Kerr County, Texas, had occurred on July 4th. Okay, and let me look at I'm gonna just have to check in with y'all every now and again because I can't rig my setup in a way where I can see your comments coming through. So let me just backtrack again. Let's see. Man, y'all is going ham in here. I'm just going back and back. Okay, all right, starting there. All right. Let's see. Okay. The flood was so strong, it twisted the guardrails like string. The number of campers missing is so woo-woo. Yes, right. Then, let's see. Yep, I noticed that too. Y'all were talking about the number of children. Never mind the name of the camp exactly. For the magic-fearing Christians, yes, it's a Christian camp, yes. I would be careful with this channel. Some things are grossly inaccurate and propaganda. Well, you have to clarify because I don't know what you're talking about. And you're going to have to clarify that with with his channel. I see what you're saying. His channel. Okay, I haven't had that experience yet, but I'll keep that in mind. I appreciate you. Let's see. Yep, another truth teller holding white people racist accountable. Overall, I haven't seen any contradictions, but it ain't like I'm laid up on his stuff every day. I've only seen maybe about 5 or 6 of his videos. So, but I will keep that in mind. And typically I try to do that anyway. When I'm writing something down or taking notes from somebody else's video, I tend to try to be very diligent about like fact checking, Googling those details for myself. Another oddity is that they said that the earth was sped up by a millisecond and it was the shortest day recorded. Yeah, I remember that. But they only, will you go ahead and put that in an email for me? I remember them saying that something had happened. Oh, you know what? That reminds me of something else I have to go back and look up that came out around 2020. It was a NASA recording that came out where I guess one of the NASA satellites had recorded like sound, had recorded I got to go back and find that. I got so much stuff saved in like folders and all kind of stuff. Let's see. It's crazy. But that was in 2022. And there supposedly had been a recording from one of the NASA satellites saying that I can't write and talk at the same time, sorry. Saying that the sound that they recorded was not random. It was not random. It was rhythmic, and it was measurable. And they said in the article that I read, I recall, I'm getting goosebumps just telling you. They said that the sound that they recorded was coming from both Jupiter and Saturn. They recorded sound coming from Jupiter and from Saturn, and they compared the sound that they recorded from Jupiter and recorded the sound from Saturn and compared the two. And they said, we don't know how else to communicate it, but it actually sounds like Jupiter and Saturn were talking to one another. Those were the exact words they used. It literally sounded like Jupiter and Saturn were talking to one another. Okay, so anyway. Oh, wow. Golden Key is saying, I went to Camp Mystic with my school in the 5th grade. Whoa. Whoa. Yes, he always talk about sundown towns. That's not the only thing he talks about. That's not the only thing that he talks about. And I'll be honest, since these things that have been happening, especially as when we were transitioning into Gemini season, a lot of people have been revisiting not only sundown towns. I'm seeing more and more and more breakdowns, deep dives into, quote, the hidden history of successful Black towns that have been deliberately destroyed. I just watched this dope, oh my God, it was so dope. This dope kind of mini documentary that was about the town of Wilmington, North Carolina. Wilmington, North Carolina, right? That was deep. Ooh, that was so deep. Ooh, it was so deep. Then, and at the time, Wilmington, North Carolina, because this is relatively shortly after emancipation, and at that time, there were more Black elected officials in Wilmington, North Carolina than anywhere else in the country. And this town, there were more Black businesses. It was a mixed town. There were more Black businesses, there were more Black elected officials, but they said that the white and the Black population in Wilmington pretty much lived harmoniously. But in the town there and around the town, in the counties around the town, there were predominantly white towns that were fearful that what was happening in Wilmington was going to spread to their towns. And this is when the wealthy elite in those neighboring counties set their sights on destroying, first destabilizing, then destroying Wilmington. And how strategically that thing happened, I recommend everybody go and Google, YouTube, the destruction of Wilmington, North Carolina, and or was it South Carolina? Is Wilmington in North Carolina or South Carolina? But anyway, everybody is talking about these disappeared towns. There are estimates that there are 64 Black towns that currently sit under lakes in the United States, and not just the South. I heard about a whole story about a Black town that was founded in Oregon, and now that town, because these Black people came out west like a lot of people did, and founded this Black town in Oregon, and of course, was just the activity of the day. White people got mad at how radically and rapidly they built their town, how self-sufficient they were, killed a lot of people in the town, ran them out of there, destroyed the town, and then the government, the local government, facilitated, I guess, it's usually towns that are around dams or whatever, and they break the dam just for the sole purpose of drowning out the town. But There's a lot of that discussion re-emerging. All of these, especially with Lake Lanier, like I've seen in the last 3 weeks. Who is Sarah Perkins? Who is that? I don't know who is Sarah Perkins. I don't know who that is. But anyway, so yeah, it might be one dude who don't have his facts straight. I like the dude so far, but now that you've put this bug in my ear, I will go back and I will investigate. But he is one out of a million. He's one out of 10,000 right now that are loudly talking about. He is always trying to draw a connection between ancient stories that we have of ancestral rebellion, of ancestral rectification, and the ways that it plays out, and weather being one of those ways that our ancestors have always talked about, how the ancestors be getting their licks off. So I'm not opposed to it. I don't do deep dives on this stuff. This stuff is like 10, 15 minutes, but okay. And I was just mentioning it because his shit came through my live last night, and I did not know the detail, which was the main reason for me talking about it, was the fact that that place was flooded. That place was flooded. The flooding began on July 4th, which is the reason I brought it up in the first place. But that's not the only thing. Multiple towns bombed, firebombed, run through, deaths never atoned for. So it ain't like we got to rely on one person who may not have every statistic or every fact right to know that this has been the legacy of this country since the end of slavery. So yeah, anyway, let's see. Middle English, in the sense, mystical meaning, from Old French, mystique, or via Latin from Greek, mystikos, from mustes, initiated person. Can you email that to me? Who did that? QB, can you email me that, please? Let me make a mental note. Can you, email that to me, please? Thank you for that. Let's see. Okay, North Carolina in the house, seven waters. So you can put in the comment, am I lying about Asheville? Am I exaggerating about Asheville? Constance Woo Woo says, I'm camping in the Carolines right now, and I'm just letting all y'all tell me where to camp because these storms are intense. Wow. So far, we have been one step ahead of some flood or some hurricane in the Carolinas. Whoa. Will you be careful, goddess? Constance Woo Woo. Let's see. There were Black people in all of the camps right next door. Yes, but I just saw that on another video, on a whole nother video. After I saw this dude's video last night, I went on to several news broadcasts, and they were saying that so far there were, and not all the kids at Camp Mystic, because the other thing that they were saying is, like, I guess that the way the camp is set up, there's a higher level of campsites, and then there's kind of like a lower level of campsites that are closer to the river, and then there's one that's kind of more like a campsite that's like higher, that none of the kids in the higher areas were affected, that it was only the kids who were in the campsites that were closer to the river, that were at the lower level, that were affected. And the only reason supposedly that the camp leadership didn't move those kids from the lower level up to the higher level was because the quote warnings that they had received from, and you can thank yo Trump for that, the warnings that they had received said that it didn't look serious, that they didn't expect more than 3 inches of rain. And so they were like, oh, we'll be all right, and left the kids there at the lower level of the campsite. But they mentioned all the other camps that are in the area around Camp Mystic, and they showed actually a busload, a church bus, a busload of kids where the parents came to get their kids because their kids, all the Black kids, had been in areas around Camp Mystic where they were not affected. They were wading through water up to the knees, but they were not affected in a way that was like a torrential sweeping away of people, and they couldn't get to safety. Progression still has its prejudices. Honey, that's not progression. Again, and that's the thing that it's been really, really difficult for us to reconcile with, right? That progressiveness, the label of progressive, has been a very effective weapon. It's actually been extremely effective, because to say you're progressive does not mean you have to do anything. You do not have to do anything. Progressiveness does not require any action that counters the action that you try to distinguish yourself from. You know, the stereotypical good old boy with the redneck. And to be progressive does not require anything of you. And so it becomes this thing that we haven't created any measures to say, okay, this action is what constitutes a progressive mentality. That, again, that separation between what's in your head and does your actions in the real world match or demonstrate that this that I hold in my head compels me to do X, Y, and Z, to behave X, Y, and Z in the world. So you can just have all this in your head and not be required to demonstrate and prove that I am safe in space with you, that if something happens to me, you're going to have my back. None of that. And so that's why, and it was never more obvious than it was moving to supposedly the most progressive state in the union, and for me to experience more outrightly and overtly racist shit that I never experienced living in Mississippi, living in Alabama, living in Georgia, or living in Florida. Some of the shit that's happened to me in California, Los Angeles, I never experienced in my whole life living in the Deep South. So that's what progressiveness gets you. As a matter of fact, them places that profess to be, quote, the most progressive, they have the highest homelessness rates. That's not my opinion. I did research. I did when Biden was running for president, and I was detailing. I'll have to bring out those papers. I'm just remembering that. But I created a list. Red and blue. I'm talking about parties. Red and blue. Red states and blue states. And I wrote all the states down for the red states, all the red states for the blue states. And I was like, I just want to see something. I don't even remember what prompted me to do it. But so in the red column, in both columns, all I did next to each red state and next to each blue state was to write the statistics. I used the national census to get accurate numbers, demographics for each state. Then next to each state, there were main things that I was looking for. Percentage of home ownership based on the population, number of homeless in each state based on population, unemployment rate based on population. It was unemployment, homelessness, home ownership. I think there was one. What was the last? There was one more. I can't remember off the top of my head. There was one more. I don't remember what it was, but it was interesting. Oh, prison population between red and blue states. I'm not going to say anything about that now, but I'm going to make it a mission to dig up that little weird ass from out of nowhere deep dive that I did when Biden was running for president. I don't know what prompted me to do it, but it was interesting because in these so-called progressive blue states, the stats were horrifying. In these states that actually proclaim having the resources, having all these resources, California is the 4th largest economy on earth, not in the country, on the planet. But the homelessness here literally obliterates the homelessness in every other state in the union. To have the money to solve problems and then to deliberately not solve problems, because that's what happens here. The shit here is crazy. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so let's see what else y'all talking about. Let's see. I was treated very well at Camp Mystic, and so was my classmates. It was a diverse group. It's not just listen, and it's not just about this guy. It seemed like you going ham on this guy. So maybe he did exaggerate about the demographic makeup of that camp, but he didn't exaggerate about the makeup of this county. I didn't just take his words for it. He did not exaggerate about the history of this county and the demographic makeup of this county. That he didn't do. You feel me? So I don't know. Like this last comment you made, they definitely messed up. I'm not just buying into cyber world propaganda. I'm good. Okay. And then yeah, so you on something else. You on something else. That's cool. I don't. Yeah, it's cool. You do you. Let's see. You talking about spirit? Spirit was not in this. True, very true. It wasn't even a natural storm. Okay, I don't know nothing about that. So if you have links that you want to share, if you have 411 that we don't have that you want to share, fine. That's not why I went into this, but you are obviously touched about it. So if you have some things that you want to share to put us on game, that I will accept. The ancestors are getting they licks in, but it's obvious you have. I've seen you on my channel before, so it can't even feel like you've been paying attention to what we've been talking about the astrological and astronomical significance of the period that we're in, especially not just entering into this new year, but especially as we were entering into Gemini season. To say spirit was not in this, first of all, to presume that even if something happens as a consequence of like human intervention or human strategy, is still somehow outside of the context of what we've been talking about, is very short-sighted. It's very short-sighted, especially given the fact that it's not make-believe, it's not our imagination that we hear perpetually about how these people in positions of power employ. Reagan was a regular old evangelical Southern Christian, and he had, the entire time he was in the White House, a paid astrologer. Why? He just wanted to know what his weekly horoscope was? Like, it's just really short-sighted. It's really short-sighted to assume that even at the hands of a human, that there is nothing. Hell, even science tells us that. Science tells us that we as human beings only perceive 4% of what exists around us. What is the other 96%? So I'm not even trying to, and not only that, these dudes are pulling out all the stops they possibly can, politically, messing with the environment, using CERN. I've been hearing all week about shit that CERN has been doing over the last 2 weeks, shit CERN's trying to do over the last 2 weeks. We have enough of a history, and even with all the blotted out FBI and CIA papers, we have enough information to know that everything that they do is an attempt to save their lives, is to rescue a system that's on the way out. I don't know. Austin is progressive. However, the more rural areas further south is heavy clan territory. Well, Polish and Polish Nail Company. I done been to Austin several times. I got family in Austin, and yep, Austin is one of them cities that's just like Asheville, North Carolina. Crazy progressive. The music scene so awesome. I haven't been in a long time. When was the last time I was in Austin? The last time I was in Austin, I don't even remember what year it was, but I was there for the South by Southwest with some friends that were performing there. And like, there was a van of us, and we was all niggas. You feel me? Afro-Cuban. It's an Afro-Cuban band. So we was all black-ass black people. And we had the same experience. Like, damn, this Austin, this Texas, like, where are all the black people at? There were some sprinkled throughout the mass, but you, especially not just to be Austin, but to be so close to the junction between Louisiana, Austin, and other major cities, the demographics didn't make no sense to us, especially for it to be no progressive town. We ended up meeting some black people there that lived there that ended up having to take us on another side of town to just find barbecue. to just find barbecue. You feel me? Anyway. So what else? Let's see. let's see. Maybe that's something I need to talk about later. This whole idea of progressiveness, it's been a seriously effective buffer. It's been a very seriously effective buffer, kind of like a buffer or a shield or a safe haven between, quote, extreme, obvious, quote, white nationalism, or like, right racism, and the rest of us. Like that, oh, we're so super progressive, have been a pretty effective buffer between the extreme and the rest of us. I don't know. It's something I might have to go into later. Anyway, it says Harvey geoengineered hurricane is on City Hall records. That's not something I don't argue that. I don't argue that. You know what I'm saying? Even if they are geoengineered, to completely dismiss, because of man's intervention, the impact that these things have on the earth and on human beings, and how that looks, how that is personified, we just can't say that because something is this, that there's no other factors around it that contribute to how the phenomenon looks in real time. That's all I'm saying. Everything is a web. Everything is connected. And so I'll be honest, I've been talking to some of the priests in my Elay, because I talked to y'all about this. Damn, I wasn't trying to go up into this all like this, but this is the last thing I'll say about it. I was talking to several priests in my Elay about, I'm still trying to read y'all comments, that's why I still have my phone in the hand. In my Elay, about this concept that I was talking to y'all about a month ago, about hearing one of the elder priestesses talk about how Oyimbo, and so I don't know if y'all remember me telling you what Oyimbo means, but in Nigeria, Oyimbo means, it's the word that they use for white people. Oyimbo, or that's Oyimbo, right? I don't know what it translates to, but that's the word that they use to talk about white people, okay? And she was telling us that because the Iyami Aj, like, govern the world, like rule the world, right? What the way she explained it, which at that time didn't make sense, and still now I'll be puzzling over it. But she says that the Iyami Aj control everything in this realm, malevolent entities and benevolent entities. The Iyami, they control like that, right? And so she says, because they are considered the judges, right? That they can, based on the judgment that they, whatever, they can hold back the malevolent energy, or they can release malevolent energy. You feel me? And I still take issue with it, because what she said was that the Iyami Aj rule the Oyimbo. That's what she said. She said Iyami Aj rule Oyimbo, and sometimes can use Oyimbo to as like instruments of judgment or something to that effect. I was like, I have a hard time reconciling that. But looking at Trump, this is when I started thinking about it again, because I was like, this dude is crazy. He off the cuff, you feel me? He's like literally destroying America in real time, and I'm here for it. But it's like, the thing that was interesting to me is how all of these institutions right out the gate that he was targeting, that Black people have been lamenting about for forever, about how terrible they are and how we need our own stuff. The school system, the prison system, the CIA and the FBI. We always got songs about the alphabet boys. You feel me? And to see him literally in real time dismantling all of these institutions that have caused so much suffering to us, But because we hyper-focused on what he doing, we are not in real time developing the opposition to those institutions. So we still, even after Oya and Babaluaye, because that's who Pluto and Saturn was in 2020. Oya and Babaluaye put us on our ass, forced us on our ass for 2 years of pandemic. We, in mass, you would hear people say, we ain't got no alternative. We ain't got no alternative to the school system because there's a little hummingbird. I don't know if y'all can hear her, but she is singing her little heart out. She is cutting the whole ruckus. She's like, bitch, I want you to hear me, okay? She is cutting the whole ruckus right now. But anyway, all this confidence that you didn't have, that you could educate your children, and when Oya and Babaluaye swept through this joint like the actual literal plague, and then not only did you were you forced to homeschool your kids for 2 years with help through the state that already existed. I homeschooled my child for a number of years. Every state has online classes that are available to homeschoolers. You feel me? And you had the money, so you had enough money because the state was cutting checks. You feel me? So for 2 years, you had the ability to homeschool your children. And as soon as the doors opened back up, you didn't see that period as a potential preparation or seeing a way to now navigate like, damn, I can be at home, or I can work. Even some of y'all are still doing it now. Y'all are still working remotely. The whole idea that we could not fathom before pandemic of being able to not go into an office, not go into a warehouse, not go into a factory, not go into a restaurant and work full time and sustain ourselves while we at home or while we traveling, that shit is the norm now. And it wasn't in 2019, right before pandemic. It literally showed you all of these ways that we had not even imagined before pandemic that we could live outside of our attachment, our unhealthy parasitic attachment. And I'm talking about not us being the parasites, our unhealthy parasitic attachments to the state in every single way, in every last one of its manifestations. We had an unhealthy attachment to the state. And instead of taking that time, those 2 years, sitting in stillness, taking notes, comparing before and after pandemic, how is it that we can maintain this severance of our relationship to the state? Now that we done had the time to plot and scheme, like we can actually do this, we can do all the things we need without the state. And instead of doing that, as soon as the state said, okay, y'all can go back outside, it's like there was such an urge, there was such an urgency to go back to this embrace that was literally killing you, that it's like we have forgotten every single solitary lesson that pandemic was telling us in real time. I just saw an article the other day and I was like, that's a lie. That's a lie. What they just said, that's a lie. I just saw that it was like a news report that came out about the state of global warming. And this guy, who, just because he is a quote scientist and quote talks very serious like a scientist, you are supposed to be terrified by what comes out of his mouth. And he's saying it is absolutely official now that we are at the point of no return. There's no evidence that we have ever seen that we can make a radical comeback as a planet from the climate crisis. I'm like, he literally just lied in your face. What they do is rely on your short-term memory. I think it was a month into pandemic, headlines from all over the earth, from all over the planet, about how 1 month of human beings being out of the earth, out of the public, out of the goddamn way, off the freeways, out these jobs, not shopping in mass. That 1 month, I remember the headlines. I'm gonna have to go back and find the headlines. I remember the headlines happening right here in LA. People were saying, oh my God, I can see the city. There were headlines coming, all written right here in LA, written by all the local news. Who knew LA had mountains? Talking about the density of the smog, that in daytime hours and peak traffic hours, the smog was so dense you could not see the goddamn mountain range.
And it was like, a joke, obviously, but like, oh my God, who knew LA had mountains? Because in a month, there was another article that came out specific to LA saying that in a single month of traffic being completely, I was still driving to work. So I kept saying this shit is apocalyptic. I would be in what should be the height of LA traffic, and I would be the only car on the freeway in both directions that first month of pandemic. This shit was crazy. And I remember them saying that in 1 month, emissions in LA had decreased 17% in a month. In a month. I remember the articles and the news broadcasts coming from like Venice in Italy, the little waterways where people be just like rowing between the buildings and stuff. People saying that for the first time in over 100 years, in a month, the Venice waterways were so clear that people could see to the bottom. They were so clear that they didn't even know that animals that big had been swimming in the little waterways. They were seeing dolphins in the waterways that they never knew was there because the water was so dank. And in a month, as a matter of fact, people were saying that for the first time, I think it was like, they were saying that for the first time, like since the 30s or something, that the locals were saying it was the first time that they could see all the way up to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. People in Tibet saying it's the first time that we've been able to see the entire mountain since I was a child. Old ass monks talking about this first time I've seen the mountains since I was a child. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? All the noise that is created is to always ensure that you do not recognize the power that you have to immediately impact your life. Hear all this noise about climate change and we at the point of no return. We ain't gonna win. I just read another article about whales. And that's in my notes, the whales. I'll tell you why. Because I talked to y'all about the whales last week. Several things came through since then. But I just saw a news broadcast from, quote, these scientists who are talking about how the orca population, the killer whales, has been so devastated, the orca population has been so devastated that they too are at the point of no return, that they cannot bounce back from the devastation that they have experienced, whoop-de-whoop, and this and such and to and from. You feel me? And I reject it because every time I hear somebody on some doom and gloom, especially making some declarations like we at the point of no return, some definitive, declaration, no different than your diagnosis. No different than your diagnosis. No different than your diagnosis. Oh, you got 6 months to live. Say who? Based on what? How did you come to that exact number? And people will actually internalize that and will themselves sick, as if there has not been at least 70 years of studies that show that if a person believes you are a person of authority and you tell them something definitively and they perceive that they are not as smart as you, they will actually will themselves to this thing. They'll will themselves sick. They'll will themselves to death because of their belief in what came out your mouth. Is this or is this not a spell? Studies from all over the world. First of all, how do you even conduct a study like that without saying that it's inherently wicked? To literally take healthy human beings and have the local spiritual man you can tell them exactly this. And then you just take notes while you literally, healthy people, and you just take notes while you literally watch their health disintegrate to see the impact of this person that they value, that you done broke off some cash. This is not my imagination. These are studies I have read. So-called observatory studies to understand the placebo effect and the nocebo effect. And then all you have to do is superimpose that on, quote, the scientific community who have made these declarations about how there's no way that we can walk back the damage that we've done to the earth. And so we just might as well give up. Like, this is what it is. There's nothing that we can do to walk back the damage done to the planet. And every time I hear some shit like that, first of all, I'm automatically defaulting to this period where we saw recently all of this because they were saying the same thing during COVID. Right before COVID, they were saying the same thing. We at what do they call it? What do they call it? Shit. Ground zero. We at ground zero. There ain't no hope going forward. We done so much damage. Can't nothing resolve it. Can't nothing reverse it. Can't nothing walk it back. And who knew? All you had to do was park 8 billion motherfuckers in their house and not let them move. And not let them move, and not let them drive, and not let them fly planes, and not let them go nowhere. And if you ain't in your car in high traffic, then your mouth is closed, so you ain't cussing, breathing out your toxic fumes, your miasms into the atmosphere. You feel me? You ain't outside, chain smoking on your lunch break. They have these numbers, man. They have these numbers about us. Just the impact of us exhaling carbon dioxide. They have measured the human impact of just exhaling carbon dioxide and can measure the impact of human respiration on the CO emissions, y'all. You feel me? So anyway, I ain't gonna get that deep because I could get deep. But I'm just saying, they have the numbers about the number of people who are regular smokers, and they determine how many cigarettes a day or how many packs a week, and then they do have these stats about the impact of just smokers on CO emissions. So we do. Our presence on the earth as a part of the intimate singular body of the earth, of course, it's going to have an impact on the environment. But if we know that every single thing that we do has an impact on the environment, guess what? It means that every single thing that we do that is positive, that is constructive, that is restorative, can also have the equal and opposite impact on the earth. They play in your face with these narratives to continue to sing these mantras of terrorism to walk you back from your own personal power. Well, what can one person do? I'm only one person. Okay, yeah, I don't recycle, but I mean, really, am I making that much of a difference? Is my impact that bad? Absolutely, yes, it is. Last thing I'm gonna say about this, because it wasn't what I intended to talk about, but these days it just ends up being that. So many of you are new to my channel, and it was a time that I was talking about this pretty regularly, but I'll drop it on you now. Most of us have heard of the whole idea of your carbon footprint. Like there's a way, I don't remember the name of the website, but there is a way that you can ascertain. You can go just Google, do a search for like, how do I measure my carbon footprint? How do I know what my carbon footprint is? It'll be just like what I'm about to tell you. So I'd heard of the carbon footprint, but I'd never heard. I had saw this documentary several years ago about chocolate and about how 98% of all chocolate on Earth is slave chocolate. Even these fancy chocolate, expensive chocolate that talks about how it's fair trade chocolate. Fair trade, still basically what they do is they establish a scale and you have to meet the minimum of the scale to be considered fair trade, to get the stamp fair trade. And fair trade still allows, I think it's like 23% child slavery for the production of its chocolate. 98% of global chocolate is slavery, and not just slavery in general. The majority of people working in cocoa plantations, chocolate plantations, are children. And so I was like, okay, goddamn, I guess I can't eat chocolate no more. Because here I am thinking I'm being the good guy and paying a little extra for the fair trade chocolate, and it's not really fair trade chocolate. You feel me? It's not really slavery-free chocolate, right? So one day my roommate comes home and she brought me this huge chocolate bar. I forget the name of the company now. I can see the cover in my mind's eye because it's got like this weird cartoonish kind of drawing on it. But anyway, I was like, girl, why would you do this? I cannot eat. I told you I'm done eating chocolate. She said, girl, that's why I bought you the chocolate. The chocolate is the only company on earth whose chocolate is 100% slavery free. I was like, oh shit. Oh my God. Right. So you open up the package and there's all these statistics. There's all these companies that are like guilty, talks about the history of chocolate production, all these stats on the inside of the wrapper. And at the bottom of the wrapper, it says, find out your slavery footprint. I said, what is that? I'd heard of a carbon footprint. I'd never heard of a slavery footprint. This is timely because of a documentary I saw today. This is timely. I said, what's that? I ain't never heard of a slavery footprint. Baby, I go on this website. It is slaveryfootprint.org. Slaveryfootprint.org. This is the challenge. I was making it really regularly in the earlier days of my channel. Slaveryfootprint.org. I challenge people, I have in the past, challenge people to go to slaveryfootprint.org. It's going to take you about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes to take the survey. You have to answer all the questions in the survey. And then at the end, based on your answers, they will calculate how many people on the planet, anywhere on earth, are working for free to support your lifestyle the way you live it today. And baby, and I am like massively ahead of the curve. I am very purposeful. I am very deliberate. I am very strategic about how I spend. Am I perfect? No. But I have, for a long time, 15 years, have been really methodical about how I eat. And I'm not talking about how I eat, quote, healthy. I'm talking about how I eat, knowing that there are things that we put in our mouth that are inherently exploitative. You feel me? So I'm like, I got this. I'm way ahead of the curve. I don't go splurge shopping. I can't remember the last time I bought a pair of blue jeans. Even my daughter was like, I don't think I've ever seen you in blue jeans. I think it had been 20 years since I bought a pair of blue jeans. They ask you everything. How many pair of tennis shoes you got? How often do you buy new shoes? How many pair of leather shoes you got? How many white cotton t-shirts you got? How many pairs of blue jeans you got? How often do you go shopping? Do you eat pineapples in an area of the world where pineapples don't grow? Mango, papaya, this and this. Do you eat quinoa? I was sitting here taking that damn survey, yo. I was like, whoa. To some of the questions just didn't even compute, right? Baby, me thinking I'm ahead of the curve, me thinking I'm good. You feel me? They said, and then they give you like a measure. Are you below average? Are you at average? Or are you above average in these behaviors that impact the world in this way? And mine was below average. I was right. Mine was below average. And they was like, yep, your average is below average. But 24 people a day somewhere on this planet still have to work for free to support your life. 24 people a day somewhere on earth are working for free to support your life based on your living habits, based on your spending habits, based on that shit hurt my feelings. It hurt my spirit. It really, really did. Like, I took it crazy personally. I was hurt. So that's the challenge. So somebody feeling's gonna be hurt. The challenge is take the survey and then post your results. Be honest, because it ain't about shaming nobody. It is about making us aware that everything we do impacts somebody else. That's all. Everything we do impacts somebody. Y'all have to believe it, because here we are calling ourselves the weavers, calling ourselves the fates, knowing that everything that we do, and we just think about the good stuff we do. Everything that we do is creating a future. Everything that we do is impacting others. That's why you look people in the eyes and all that shit. And we can accept that. But if we're talking about the son gone rogue and how he has taken everything that the mother has done and flipped it upside down and turned it inside out, then what makes you think that the web that he has spun has not done the exact opposite of what the mother has done? That's the web he has spun. That's what capitalism is. A wicked, ever-present fucking web that has even the poorest among us have no choice but to participate in the suffering of others. That's what that means. That's why all these, quote, Dollar Trees and dollar stores and penny stores and all of this shit is hyper focused in poor and working class communities, is to guarantee that we have no choice based on our economic circumstances. We have no choice but to participate in the exploitation of others. That's the web that he has created. So it behooves us to become aware of the ways that we can snip strands on the web. Because every strand of every web is purposeful, and that purpose is singular. The purpose is to keep him fed, overbloated at the expense of everyone else on earth. That's what the web is for. That's what the web, in his construction, in his malignant reproduction of the mother's process, that his web guarantees death. His web guarantees death. His web guarantees a deathful outcome, a terrible outcome, all the time in every way. And so it's not about shaming you. My feelings was hurt, but I felt like it was my responsibility to get up on there when I took that damn survey and say, y'all, this shit is deep. I wrote, I shared the doc. It was like a little mini doc, but I shared this doc on IG today that had me in my feelings. I'm gonna tell you why it had me in my feelings. Because yesterday I went to the grocery store to buy a bunch of bananas, like just a handful of bananas, right? How about the first thing I see come through is this doc today on the history of bananas in the United States. And it was in the introduction of it said, did you know that millions of people died so you could have cheap bananas? That was the introduction. I said, oh shit. I said, I just went and bought all these goddamn bananas yesterday. Why this shit didn't come through my feed yesterday? You feel what I'm saying? The opening scene said, did you know that millions of people were murdered? Not died, murdered, so that you could have cheap bananas. And then like all the footage started coming through about all of these, about how all of these coups were happening. And I've known this, but it's like we get so busy that we like not know. You feel me? But I knew, I'd seen documentaries about the history of United Fruit Company, but it was like today it hit different. Today it hit different. How, child, go on my IG, which is Daughter of the Fates, go on my IG, because that shit did me today. That shit did me. It was first of all, it was well made. It was well made. And just talking about, and you know what the conclusion was that I came to? I had come to this conclusion before, but not this staunch, not this like direct. I was thinking about all these dystopian movies that we've seen. Oh, and there's a common theme that we never really talk about. Let me write this down because it's going to have to be a theme for another live. There's common theme. I talked about the robot theme in all these dystopian movies, but there's another theme that is very, very prevalent in so many, quote, post-apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic, end of the world, dystopian future-esque movies, that it's always just seen kind of like as a side note or whatever. You know what that common theme is in so many of them? It's cannibalism. And how the world is going to be so terrible, the world is going to be so destroyed, and you know what I'm saying? And that people are going to be so desperate that there's going to be a sector of the population who are going to finally just make a break with all their morals and resort to eating people. In every goddamn post-apocalyptic a post-apocalyptic movie. This cannibalism, blah, 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 blah. Why they keep putting cannibalism in every dystopian movie where it's like, whether it's quote, and that's the other thing, sometimes it's not even voluntary cannibalism. There's other dystopian movies. What was that movie? Let me write it down so I don't forget. Y'all remember that movie, Ice Piercer? Ice Piercer Soylent Green. I was just talking to y'all about that last week. What was the other one? Cloud Atlas. I know y'all don't remember this. I know y'all don't remember the cannibalism scene, right? But so not all cannibalism is going to be, quote, conscious, voluntary cannibalism, right? And what you call it? In Soylent Green, what happened was the society had collapsed so bad that the state was giving out daily rations of a protein bar. It was just condensed nutrients, supposedly, these green condensed nutrients. And these were the rations that everybody would get up first thing in the morning to get their rations of this product that was made like government cheese, You go first of the month, you get in line early so you can get your government cheese, you feel me? And or your Soylent Green, your rations that can at least give you, quote, the nutrients that you need to live, right? And come to find out, Charlton Heston was in this movie. It was an old movie. I think it was made in the 70s or early 80s. But come to find out, the police had been hired by the government, who was ran by the elite, by the wealthy elite. Everybody that was in the government was wealthy elite. The police were being hired to capture, quote, undesirables, drug addicts or prostitutes, people that, quote, the society wouldn't miss, disappear them and nobody won't miss them. And they had a whole factory, a secret factory, where they were dropping these people into this vat. And Soylent Green was people at the end, because Charlton Heston's character is he is an ex-cop turned private investigator hired by this man who happened to be rich, but his daughter was a drug addict and he didn't know she was slipping out to do drugs out on the street with her friends. And so she gets disappeared by the police, and he hires Charlton Heston as a private investigator to find out what happened to his daughter. And so he's going into this wormhole, and he was like, oh my God, I can't believe what's happening. Some of this stuff just don't sound real, whatever. Then he ends up finding the factory and seeing the beheaded humans being dropped in these giant cauldrons on an assembly line. And on the other side of the assembly line are these little green squares being spun out, put in boxes as the rations for the rest of the people in the greater population, right? And the cops come, and he basically goes crazy. He snaps. And so they have him in a straitjacket, hauling his ass on a stretcher out of the damn place. And they know, they make it like he snapped. Let me not say he snapped. They make it like he snapped. And so he's in a straitjacket. They rolling him out. Everybody on the outside just think it's a regular ass factory. They don't know what's happening in the factory. The police are rolling him out. And he's screaming, the last scene in the movie, it's people. It's people. They're feeding us people. It's people. And that's how the movie go off, right? And then all these other movies where this whole idea of the elite, of the wealthy elite child, exploiting the constant state of like urgency that people are in, so they can't think, they can't see what's happening, exploiting this urgency that they are creating for them while they are feeding them humans. Why am I mentioning this within the context of a documentary about Chiquita Banana or about a United Fruit Company? Because today it occurred to me while watching this documentary, we have been perpetually told to fear this dystopian future, and these are certain aspects of this future, this disastrous future, that are always going to be the telltale signs that human beings have finally once and for all leaped backwards into the Stone Age. This is the evidence, is that people are eating people, whatever, right? And I, even till today, y'all, for me, these little hints, remember the Book of Eli? The Book of Eli had the little cannibalism ass thing in it, you feel me? With Denzel Washington, right? I was like, why do they keep doing that? But I never like went into it, you feel me? Until today, when I saw this documentary about the history of the United Fruit Company and the organized strategic hits of whole communities who had the nerve to fight back against United Fruit Company. And it occurred to me, this dystopian future that they got you like always fearing and shit like that. And they be telling you about AI and robots and becoming sentient and all of these things that terrorize you into a permanent state of paralysis to do anything about your life. I said the dystopian future is not some post-apocalyptic future. I said the post-apocalyptic future has been since the advent, at least most strategically, the advent of the rise of the Roman Empire and the subsequent founding of the Roman Catholic Church. This shit that we've been doing since May 20th, the global conspiracy to right all wrongs, and we keep talking about, quote, dystopian future, dystopian future, dystopian future. We have been living in that dystopian future at bare minimum since the rise of the Roman Empire. We've already been living that dystopian future. The artificial intelligence that I told y'all the other day, it ain't robots, boo. It's not robots that they fear. It's not robots that they fear. It's robots that they're trying to tell you to fear because you take everything literally. I said, but it's robots that they fear. This looming fear about, artificial intelligence becoming self-aware and sentient. It is the fear of the woman. It is the fear of the female. It is the fear of the mother recalling who she actually is. That's the self-awareness that they're afraid of, that they're terrified of, and they tell you in your face, because every time they talk about some robot, some artificial intelligence becoming self-aware, they automatically say that if these robots ever become self-aware, the first thing they're gonna do is kill us men. They don't say humans, they say it's gonna kill us men. Why? Because men in their mind are the only people important. That's why every movie is about, they say humans, but they know what they mean. We know what they mean. We've been living in that goddamn dystopian future for a couple thousand years at least, and 6,000 years at best. We've already been living everything that they tell us. This damn cannibalism thing. What's the cannibalism that we have been experiencing since the advent of the Roman Empire in particular? It is the Roman Empire where the seeds of modern capitalism come from. It is the Roman Empire that is the most expressed seed of what would eventually become. It was inevitable. What eventually would become the Roman Catholic Church, the state as we know it, the quote primitive accumulation of capital as we know it. Its seed, its birthplace, most recently is in the rise of the Roman Empire. It said itself, everybody in the known Roman Empire who had been captured, colonized people, said all roads lead to Rome. All roads lead to Rome. What did they mean? That Rome's empire had become so vast and so prolific that the relationship was one directional. The Roman Empire would capture, colonize, seize ownership of your shit. Everything that you produced went straight in a one-way directional way to central Rome. And if you wanted to eat, and if you wanted to have a life, and if you wanted to have a job, then your ass would follow your resources to Rome. Does that not sound like the United States of America today, 2,000 years later? Does that not sound? Everybody's talking about, well, why everybody want to come to our country? Because just like Rome, word for word, text for text, script for script, you have created in the United States of America an absolute replica of your filthy ass father, Rome, who robbed the world blind and then guaranteed that it would have a steady influx of slaves to serve it, because you done robbed everybody resources. They ain't got no choice but to follow their resources to the heart of Rome, where they then will become every manner of slave, whether that is brothels of children or entertainment in terms of feeding people to the lions for your pleasure and shit. You feel me? Or whatever it was. And so if you can recognize that the so-called cannibalism that they be talking to you about in this so-called mythological dystopian future, that we already been cannibals. We've already been cannibals. With the increasing prolific nature of capitalism, not just capitalism specifically in its British, European, and then greater even than that, its American presentation, Capitalism has created for itself the same relationship to the rest of the world that Rome did some 2,000 years ago, where all the resources coming in one directionally with nothing in return. So you're either going to starve where you are, sound familiar? You're either going to starve where you are, or you got to try to find a way to get to the great America where you can be exploited, but at least you can get paid a little bit while you're being exploited. And that's where we are. So how does that equate to to cannibalism? We've been cannibals. Those of us who are poor, those of us who are working class, yes, even those who are homeless in the United States of America, we are all cannibals. We are all cannibals. Why can I say that? There is no such thing as a vegan in the United States. There's no such thing as a vegan in Europe. There's no such thing as a vegan in the goddamn 52 developed countries on earth. Why can I say that? Because 3/4 of the whole planet, 3/4 of the human beings on earth live on less than $10 a day. $10 a day. A great many of them, according to the World Health Organization, many of those less than $10 a day are surviving off $1 to $2 a day. Why? Because everything that they produce is coming straight here. And if they don't produce it for that bowl of rice that they get every day, if they don't produce it, they will be killed. The loss of life to produce food for someone else, the threat of loss of life to produce food for someone else, they may as well have taken their wrist and bled all over the food before they sent it across the country. To hear a story, and it's in our face all the time, to hear a story about, listen, quote, millions of human beings in this long period of European and U.S. interest in South America, specifically around the production of fruit, and how, listen, they were whole regime changes funded by United Fruit Company. Quote, socialist leaning leaders in these countries being assassinated, proxies put in place, militia being hired to literally burn down whole communities who were staging a contest about labor and about the exploitation of labor and all of this shit, all funded by United Fruit Company. Yes, the banana with the cute little blue thing on it and the little lady dancing. Yes. And this is not an anomaly. This is not an anomaly. I saw a whole nother documentary about the history of sugar in this country. It's like once you see the shit, you cannot unsee it. You cannot unsee it. There is nothing in a capitalist society that is untouched. There is nothing in a capitalist society that is benevolent. There's nothing in a capitalist society that is innocent. There is nothing in a capitalist society that does not have someone's fucking blood on it. That is its requirement. Capitalism to be born required blood before anything else. It required blood. It required devastation. Unending. That's what it means to be a cannibal. That's what it means to be a cannibal, is to go and purchase something now that you know, to know that it is steeped in the blood, literal blood of human beings who were literally just, quote, protesting to get paid the value of their labor. But that couldn't happen because we wanted 25-cent bananas. We wanted 25-cent bananas. That can't happen. So we got to erase whole villages off the map. And there ain't nothing you can name. There ain't hardly, if you don't grow it, baby, there's something that you eating. I'm not laughing. I'm telling you, it's that deep. It's that prolific. When I heard about the history of blue jeans, I taught physics to 12th graders in a private school before I came out here in Florida. And I was like, yeah, we're gonna talk about physics, but I'm gonna show y'all a documentary once a week so that y'all can just know that we have been duped, Americans, into accepting this rose-colored glass. Looking at the United States of America through these rose-colored glasses, these red, white, and blue-colored glasses. Baby, I can tell you stories right here in California that a singular couple, this couple, as a matter of fact, y'all know the company. What's the name of the company? I think it's called Promise. That's what it is. Promise. Shout out to the company Promise. They make the cute little pomegranate juices that you get in the produce section that's shaped like a little lady's body, the cute little pomegranate juice. That's them. Promise. They are the largest almond producing company. They produce more almonds than any company on earth. They produce more pomegranates. You know what I'm saying? This and this and this and this. This couple, a man and a woman, this couple, child history in California is so monstrously diabolical. Oh, woo, woo, woo. When I tell y'all how there ain't never no clouds in California, how there ain't never no clouds, how it don't never rain in California, how there ain't never no clouds, and I'm literally 6 miles from the ocean, and just what is it? The Krebs cycle teaches us. The Krebs cycle teaches us as long as you live near a large body of water, you always gonna have storms and clouds and rain. We don't ever got that, and I'm like, damn, why we don't ever have no clouds and no rain and no shit, and like we live by the ocean, but there's no inland water like whole rivers in California. When I tell you whole rivers, I'm not talking about little streams. I'm talking about whole rivers, absolutely gone, been dry for 2 decades. You can drive down and they're still listed on the map. You can be looking on your maps. You can be looking in real time on your navigator and supposed to be seeing a giant wide ass river that you riding along the freeway, and you're supposed to be able to see a wide ass river, and all you see is an obviously bone dry riverbed with trees coming up out of it because it's been dry for so long. What happened to all the water? I saw an expose not too long ago on this couple that owns Promise Company, saying that they have been so strategic in manipulating and paying local governments all over California, going to city council meetings, going to city governments, pad people's pockets, this to buy up public water aquifers, water that people pay taxes for. How are you gonna sell what belongs to the people who pay for the water? How they have been able to successfully buy up enormous amounts of public owned aquifers. They buy the aquifers, and so now that they quote own the aquifers, every time people pay their water bill or whatever, these people who done bought up the public aquifers now get paid. The people are paying them because quote the people are now using their water that they done got sold. They done child. Listen, they have been so prolific at the buying up of public water that they're saying this one old ass, ancient as Methuselah ass couple are a major contributing factor to the drought in California. One couple. And they have identified that this couple is an actual major contributing factor to that drought in California. So I was like, damn. Oh, let me look. Do I need it? Okay. So I was like, damn. I haven't eaten an almond since I saw the fucking expose, y'all. I haven't eaten, and I love almonds. But once I know, it's like, what the hell am I gonna do? You feel me? You can't help what you don't know. But as soon as you know, and that's why so many people have told me, I'm not gonna take that survey. I don't want to know. That's your choice. That attitude is problematic. I've had people tell me that straight to my face. I'm not doing it. I don't want to know. I do not want to know the ways that I can just be more effective. I can be more efficient. Okay, yeah, I can curb my habits a little bit. There's certain things I can live without. You feel me? I don't need them, and I can figure out other ways to supplement this thing that I had over here. I'm not telling you to be priests or monks or no shit. I'm not perfect, not by any means. If I took the survey today, it probably would not have changed that significantly from the first day that I took it. I cut a lot of corners. I recycle those things, and I am very mindful about not overly purchasing things that need to be recycled in the first place. Like, it caused me to be a lot more conscious about how I spend. So I'm not telling people to be monks. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying that if we're going to accept the good side of what it means to be a faith, that we have to recognize that we have the absolute measurable power. That's what energy is. That's what that whole E equals MC squared deep dive I keep doing with y'all, is to let you understand that your energy is not some just simple metaphysical off the fuck somewhere. It's your energy. Every action that you take in the world is measurable and contributing to something. And if it's not contributing to helping humans, to helping yourself, to liberating people, then it's contributing to something. Every energy, every action, everything you do is contributing to something, someone. And if it ain't for the good, there ain't no gray area. There's no neutral area. They're sitting there telling you in your face every day, yeah, we use your energy. Every time you click just in a search engine, there is capital generated just from something as seemingly insignificant as you clicking in the search engine. They're telling you in your face, and you still treat the quote term energy. You still treat your quote spiritual beliefs as something separate from science, from measurable, calculable science. You're still treating it in this separation that has been this dissection of your skull that's been imposed on you. So that's why I keep switching back and forth, talking to you about E equals MC squared and like how they done measured that 1 gram of mass. Any mass has the energy potential of 10 megatons of TNT. And so literally everything you do is producing an outcome through your energetic output. And these people have been so prolific in what they do, they have measured to the 0.1% how to extract benefit from every last one of your behaviors and actions and this and that and such and such. So stop treating your spirituality as if it is something that exists outside the material world. Your spirituality exists inside the material world. Not only does it exist inside the material world, it has an impact on the material world. Not only does it have an impact on the material world, everything that you do materially is informed by these ideologies that you accept. So it's going to determine how you expend your energy, how you distribute your energy. That's why I tell y'all these things, which has nothing to do with what I was going to talk to y'all about, but it's impactful because that was really an epiphany today. I was like, yeah, I'm a goddamn cannibal. I never made the equation that if anything that you consume, and that by consuming, I mean if it's not local, if you don't know the motherfucker who grew it, you feel me? Like that there is the setup. We can't separate the nature of capitalism being parasitic and being like having a web or, generating this web of connection, and recognizing that everything that he does is a direct reflection, a direct and imposing mirror image reflection of what his mother has done historically, mutated and made malignant. It's like being, what it's like being? It's like, what it's like being in this contest with the sun gone rogue? You know what it's like being? It's like going to a goddamn fair and going into the house of mirrors, and one mirror, there's like a million different versions of yourself, but exact replications of the version of yourself. And then you run up on one mirror, and it's a mirror and it looks flat, but you look crazy in the mirror. You look absolutely insane, like nothing like yourself. Your face all lopsided and wobbly and shit. That's what it is. That's what it is. You can still see you got on the same dress, but it's wobbly. Everything is distorted. So you are an exact, the sun gone rogue is literally trying his hardest to mimic everything that is you, the mother. He is trying as hard as he can. You can see the colors are the same. You can see the outfit is the same. You can see everything is the same, but everything is a radical distortion of the truth. Everything is a radical distortion of the truth. When we are the mothers looking in a mirror and seeing our son trying to reflect us back to us, and he can't do it because he has severed himself from the mother. So he can't figure out why he can't be the perfect reflection of his mother. He can't be the perfect reflection of his mother because he hates his mother. And he's severed himself from his mother. So all he can do is attempt to fake the funk and always create a malignant and deadly mutation of her, because he is still her, even as he has completely internalized that he is completely separate from her. That's a hell of drug. That's a hell of drug. That's a hell of drug. So even these people who be caught up in these discussions about how, capitalism did so much for the world, though. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Not never. Capitalism ain't never produced nothing that has benefited humanity. Never. The only people who produce something that benefited humanity are people who were humane, forced into slavery under the brutality of the capitalists to create to benefit the capitalists. Anything that has helped you in your life, in the world, or anything is because some oppressed person under the boot of a capitalist produced from the beneficence of their selves, still in alignment with the one, still in alignment with the sheep, suffering under the boot of the malignant mutated version. And so if you got benefit from it, like we benefit from the stoplight. Was it a capitalist that created the stoplight? Hell the fuck no, it wasn't. It was some poor black person. We benefit, we recognize the usefulness of the shoestring. Was it some capitalist who created the shoestring? Hell no, it wasn't. You see what I'm saying? Even the innovations with which this period is defined by, the potential to create these radical innovations that are intended to liberate the human spirit. But if these innovations are stolen like they regularly are, there are whole long books about the history of capitalists stealing the innovations from those that they see the opportunity to get the drop on. Oh, that's a good idea you got right there. Let me see how you did that. Damn, that's real nice. That's real nice. Hold on, you taking notes. Next thing you know, because you got the money, you got the Vatican, you the capitalist, and you white and male, so you can make it to the patent office, and they'll believe that you created the shit and not the enslaved person up under your boot created the shit. And here you go, forever and ever and ever. Your descendants, long past you dying, will forever benefit off the benefically intended invention and innovation of some poor oppressed person, and your ass with the invention in your hands becomes something that makes you millions at the expense of others, and at the end of the day still has not benefited human beings, because the richer you get, the more you want. So even though the stoplight was created by some black person, you feel me, the owner and the patent holder of the stoplight becomes rich, and the more rich he gets, the more shit he steals. Now he always putting himself under the guise of being a progressive, under the guise of being a friend, under the guise of being a scientist. I just want to help you out because I see that you are brilliant. We hear this shit over and over and over again. Under the auspice of being a friend, being progressive to gain closer proximity to genius, then you turn around and jack shit, and we forget the name until 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years later of the person who actually did it, and they just become a footnote in a history book. Did you know this person created the iron? Did you know this person created the ironing board? Did you? Every motherfucking thing up in this bitch created by some poor, disappeared black person whose their lineage goes on into the future to be perpetually poor, while the robbers of their genius goes on into the future to be perpetually wealthy off the seed of genius planted by some enslaved person, some poor person, some disenfranchised person. So no, stop saying that. Capitalism ain't create a motherfucking thing. Capitalism, by its very nature, has mastered the art of stealing, mastered the art of theft, mastered the art of brigandage, mastered the art of turncoat shit, turn of hand shit, sleight of hand shit, make believe, illusions and shit. Anyway,
I'm gonna run through these comments and I'm gonna get up. Let's see. People just don't peep game. Start observing black social media influencers and what they're peddling. Blah, 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 blah. They keep capsizing in Lake Lanier. Check out all the bloggers and black influencers. Repeat the stories. Some are paid. Blah, 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 blah. It ain't just black influencers. It ain't just us. You know, yeah, we be saying some dumbass shit, but for every black person you hear saying dumbass shit, there'll be 30 other motherfuckers saying dumbass shit. Like, don't do that. The atrocities of what was done when blacks were self-sufficient and affluent. That's what I'm saying. Like, first of all, you have to have. So if then that's what I was saying. If you have facts and links that you want to send me about information that is contradicting something that I put out on here, that I'm not opposed to. Email it to me, put it in the comment, whatever. But we have to be really, really careful. I get it. It is frustrating when we be seeing us be saying some dumb ass shit. Like I went off 2 days ago about this bullshit with the Essence Festival. I get it. But I still, even when I talk about us, I'm talking about, black people saying and doing dumbass shit on social media, I still am very clear in my distinction about talking about black people in a way that is harmful as opposed to challenging black people to, pull back on the dumbass shit we be saying and doing. There's a difference because it's too easy to imply some inherent weakness on our thought processes or our blackness or something like that. That's never what I'm implying. So we have to be clear and like crystal clear about how we articulate certain things. You know what I'm saying? And I just spent a whole hour telling y'all the other day, I'm not above being corrected. I ain't got no stakes in being wrong. Like that shit's stupid. As much as I love to learn, why would I have stakes in being wrong? So I said it here in the comments. If you got some links you want to drop in the comments, whatever. If you got some shit you want to share with me, whatever. This is what I understand about what went down. Whoop-de-whoop. Cool. But just be mindful, because even the most reactionary of us, you feel me? I be trying. Now with the Hebrew Israelites, I ain't cutting no slack. I'm always gonna call them glorified he-men with clanks on. Like I don't think there's no slack I can cut the Hebrew Israelites. But the rest of us, just regular everyday black people trying to understand what's happening in the world and recognizing that they are confronted with a mountain high plethora of conspiracy theories and discussions about the Anunnaki and aliens, and Egypt was actually in the Grand Canyon. Okay, and I recognize it. I recognize this is the period where there's going to be so much information coming down on it. It's going to be hard to discern. One, is this a truth worth me knowing? Okay, so what if we do discover that Egypt was actually in the Grand Canyon? How exactly is the truth of this epiphany going to transform the lives of human beings suffering around the world? Is there a direct correlation between the freedom and liberation of human beings and us knowing that for whatever reason the white people decided to hide the truth of where Egypt actually was? Like, is this a truth worth me knowing? That's a hard thing to win, because every other day somebody emailing me about what I think about the Anunnaki. I don't think nothing about the Anunnaki. I don't give it a 0.25% of my thought processes, because a lot of things that I think are out there, I think my position is what it is. I believe 98% of what's circulating in the airwaves as information, conspiracy theories, hidden histories, or whatever, even if they're real, that's not the argument I'm saying. I'm saying that the reason and the way that they come out in the world is just, to me, it's a real insidious way to do exactly what everything else in this society attempts to do, is to disempower the giant that lives on this planet. Everything you hear is to disempower, is to hopefully make it so that the giant on this planet never remembers that it is a giant. That's what I'm convinced of, is that you can never remember that you literally, not figuratively, you literally scientifically, you literally metaphysically, you literally mathematically, you literally what's the other word? Mythologically, you literally spiritually, you literally, each one of us is the literal embodiment of all of the boundless power and potentialities of the entire universe. What does it mean when some of y'all be talking about we made out of stardust? We made out of stardust. And then the scientists say, yep, we actually made out of stardust. What does it, how does that translate to you? What does that mean to you about your potential to impact the world around you? Or do you just be walking around saying, yeah, Queen, we made out of stardust, and that's it? That's all you can that's all you can. Hey, do I need to move? Okay. That's all. You just feel good about being made out of stardust, but you don't use that information to come to a conclusion in your brain about mathematically and scientifically what are the potentialities of that as an implication. You see what I'm saying? You don't bridge the gap between, quote, this knowing of something and being like, yeah, that sounds good. I like the way that sounds. We made out of stardust. That's nice. But you don't take it the step further to say, how does this translate? What does it mean that we made out of stardust? And what are the implications? And does it have an implication in what I do in the world? Like, how do I factor this into what I'm plotting and scheming on to create this world I want to see? I see clearly in my eyes. How do I take this? Okay, I'm stardust. How do I take that? You feel me? And filter that through, like, me knowing I'm stardust. I'm literally made out of the universal boundless and all the potential that comes with that. How can I translate that shit, funnel it, fine tune it into like this school that we talk about we want to build as the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence, right? This radical school that will be from age 0 to age 100. You feel, how does this shit translate? Or are you still just dealing with a multiplicity of random dichotomizations of, I got, okay, this information over here and this worldview and belief over here and this one over here and that one over there, and you got 10 million things in your skull and don't none of them ever cross paths? Don't none of them ever inform the other about how we can create something new with these two seemingly unrelated ideas, and how we can create something brand new out of these two seemingly unrelated ideas? Don't nothing ever connect? It's just a bunch of shit you just quote know? That's why I don't be talking to nobody about no goddamn Anunnaki until I can figure out a way where a knowledge of the Anunnaki is going to inform me about the most direct and simplest route to this thing that I'm trying to make happen in the real world. I ain't wasting no breath on that shit. That's not to say that I would judge anybody who does. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm an opportunist. And what I mean by that is anything that I am talking about, anything that I'm plotting on, any information that I am taking in, the only way it becomes important to me is when I can see the direct relationship that new information, that new belief, that new idea, that new thought is going to have on what I came up on here to do. If I cannot see a direct relationship to this information and the end goal, the execution of the idea in the real world, honey, somebody else can have it. Somebody else can have it. Somebody else can run with that. Because maybe they can see what I can't see. Maybe they can see how the Anunnaki, you know what I'm saying, is going to impact what it is they're trying to do. I can't see it. And so I ain't giving no energy to it. I ain't giving no breath to it. People out here doing whole ass 4, 5, just like I be up on here for 4, 5, 6 hours. Hopefully y'all leave up out of here with something y'all can eat off of, first of all. Like that y'all can actually apply in your life and in the real world. And if it ain't, then somebody need to yank my chain. You feel me? But I do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hour, and I know that I have an impact because I had y'all email me and say, damn, that little thing that you told that sister to do about her eyes, I did the same thing and my blood pressure went down. You feel me? So I know I be dropping dimes. I be teaching y'all shit y'all can walk away with and apply to your life right away. So don't nobody come up on here and tell me I'm just yakking. I ain't trying to hear that shit. Because I be giving y'all gold. I be dropping dimes on y'all ass. You feel me? I don't be dropping dimes. I be dropping whole ass gold bars on y'all ass. You feel me? But what I will say is I see people
doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours live just like I do. And you can talk for 8 hours about the Anunnaki and the archons. Who else y'all be talking about? The Anunnaki and the archons and the hidden missing books of the Bible and the what else y'all be talking about? You know what I'm saying? What else y'all be talking about? Child, that ain't my lane. That ain't my lane. That ain't my lane. That ain't my lane. And even when I get them emails, I be trying to, diplomatically and gently, like steer people in another, like take them from where they at and kind of steer them in another direction. I ain't trying to make nobody feel shame or weird because they believe what they believe. Most people who believe what they believe is because they're young in this walk. There is a radical influx. There is an enormous influx of human beings. First of all, hightailing it the fuck out the church, out what you call it, out the mosque, out the goddamn the synagogue, out all of these weird ass places they've been hogtied to because something has struck them through the heart. All at the same time, everywhere on earth. I've gotten emails from people all over the planet in just this last week that I've been talking to y'all about, who is so radical. It's so unbelievable. We have to be so excited that we're alive in this time. Oh my God, right? And I literally just got an email from a woman yesterday from New Zealand, another sister in South Africa, and we already got several sisters in South Africa who've been up on here anyway. Another sister from fucking Fiji, and then another one just emailed me last night talking about I'm from the. She didn't say what country, but she said I'm from deep in Oceania. I said Oceania. You know what I'm saying? This is what the Southeast Pacific. That's Oceania, right? It's the Southeast Pacific. I said, well, come on in the room. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. You feel me? Something is happening. So people are hightailing it the fuck up out of here. But because the temple is not big enough, because the temple is not mass enough, there is a whole unending plethora of bullshit they can run to. And unfortunately, that shit is the shit that's getting algorithm. Unfortunately, that shit is the shit that's got 2 million followers, and each live, they got 1 million viewers and shit. And so, unfortunately, this grand wave of people that are being called by the mother, make no mistake, what is tugging at them, what is blowing through their goddamn heart chakra in one fell swoop is the mother. And unfortunately, there are too many institutions that can get in the way of this connection, that can get in the way of this call that she is making globally, child, like a fucking bolt of lightning, clearing the fucking air, clearing the air. That's why the Temple of Evolutionary Emergence. This is not a goddamn religion. This is not a goddamn cult. This is a whole new way that human beings can become whole. Bitch, I ain't trying to tell y'all to believe what I believe. I'm not. I'm trying to blow your skull open while at the same time closing these chasms, mending these gaps. Simultaneously blow your shit open and then mend what has been perpetually broken and attacked. You feel me? And so this whole idea, I think some people call it like, there's a word for it. And I resonate with it. The whole idea that we're going to be in a future where everyone is their own religion, I accept that. I accept that. I accept that. If I didn't accept that, I wouldn't teach you the way that I teach you. I accept that. I want you to remember that you are God in every way that we imagine God. Ever present, ever powerful, ever existing on all planes and all dimensions and throughout all timelines. You are ever present. You aren't just alive in this moment. Everything that has happened in the past of the entire world exists in you as you present this way in the moment. You are the absolute culmination of every future, because what did we say last week? All futures are now. Now. Well, doesn't that mean that the now is a reflection of all pasts? That's what it means to be ever present.
That's what it means for the favors, for the weavers, for the fates to redefine time, to redefine time. That's what it means. That's what it means. It's not some esoteric, disassociated, over the fuck there somewhere. That's not what it means. It means just what I said. All futures are now. It means what I just said scientifically about us being cannibals. It means they have measured to 1,000% every action, every word, every movement, every hand click on an app generates money, generates wealth. For whom are you generating this wealth? For whom are you generating this money? With every action, with every action, with every word. Do you understand? That's what it means to really accept that what we are embarking on it. And once you recognize that your ass is God, then it means that you have no choice but to recognize that everyone around you is God. And now it sets you in a different place. Even if they're on in a baby stages of God selfness, you know what I'm saying? In terms of they understand, even if they in a baby stages of God selfness, you will talk about them differently when they seem that they ain't quite right. When they seem like, oh, poor Tink Tink. You feel me? Like, oh, poor baby thing, just ain't up on game yet. Instead of it always being this antagonistic, hostile, demeaning, shameful way that we communicate about other human beings. Because we feel like we so smart, we so super supreme. Well, I've been on my walk for 20 years. Well, I've been doing this spiritual work for 20 years. And so there's an automatic arrogance. There's an automatic kind of not only arrogance, there's not only this arrogance that you, quote, wear as this garb, but at the same time that you putting on this garb of arrogance, there is this gross ass reductive condemnation that you spill out over everyone else. That ain't the world we trying to create. That ain't no shit I'm trying to create. I don't be up on here trying to shame y'all. I definitely don't be up on here trying to make you feel less than, because I know what I know. I know I'm a genius, but my genius should not intimidate anyone. Anytime somebody else's genius intimidates someone else, it's because they mean it to. They mean it to. That's their intention, is to make you feel smaller, is to make you feel less than based on what you do not know. Not to go to the level that you are, explain it on the level that empowers them, explain it to them on the power that empowers them, and then walk them up to where you are. That ain't the intention. That ain't the intention. And if that's not the way you feel when you are talking to anybody, when you are listening to a lecture, when you are listening to anyone, if you hear like, damn, that sound right on, but now you embarrassed to ask questions because you shamed that they gonna think you stupid. They intended that. I'm just trying to tell you. They intended for you to feel stupid. Something in the way they communicated this idea that you thought that was deep what he just said, but I ain't gonna ask no questions because I don't want to think I'm stupid. He intended you to feel that way. That was deliberate. I'm just trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you. We have to learn that way. Those of you who are relatively new in your walk in life, because even like I do readings for people who tell me it's so interesting how many people are getting their first ever divination in life with me. That's interesting. It's teaching me something about what's happening in the world. How many women that are 50, 60, 75 years old for the first time ever receiving divination. I know in an instant how I need to communicate in a way that does not make them feel like, damn, I'm too late. Why I wait so long? Why everybody could see this and I couldn't? No. And so I am very mindful because a lot of the women will come into the meeting that way, will come into the reading, and you can tell there's kind of like almost a hesitation. I have to be astute enough to peep that, and I am astute enough to peep that because 25 years of putting my hands on human beings, I read them in 2.5 seconds. I know exactly where they're coming from in 2.5 seconds. Or those same people who have been out the church for a half a second, and so they laid up on the internet like most people trying to find out what the fuck is happening in the world, be laid up on the internet and consuming everything they can get their hands on, not having the ability to discern yet
what they should keep and what they should leave right where they got it up on the internet. And so, they'll be so excited. It's excitement that allows them to communicate these ideas that they up on game. But because we are so accustomed to being shamed, you understand that we'll go into a space with a teacher wanting to teach, even as we're infants. We'll go into a space with a teacher or with a healer wanting to teach, to quote, prove how much we know so we don't appear stupid. You feel me? That's because of internalized shame that they do that. You still have to be able to recognize, discern if that's their motivation and say, yes, I have heard this concept that you are talking about. You know what I'm saying? I am aware of this idea that you're talking about. But let me give it to you this way and think about it from this perspective, and then tell them what it is they need to know. I don't need to tell them, no, that ain't how it go. That ain't right. That ain't it. That ain't it. What do they benefit from that, and what do I benefit from that? You feel me? So even I had the situation with this elder, and she was telling me, she was like, yeah, and she's an elder, and so her mother is much more an elder. And she was like, I was just trying to, share with my mama what I've been learning, you feel me? And, and now the environment in the house has just gotten so like, different. It's so hostile because, she's still hanging on to that Christian shit. And I'm like, well, y'all know me because I've had this conversation a lot. I have done it. We all do it. We get so hype about what we learned. The first thing we want to do is go put our loved ones up on game. Let me tell you what I learned. But because we have not learned the art of communicating in a way that does not make people shut down and feel like they are being reduced or made to feel stupid, because we have not learned the art of speaking democratically and guided with love, it's easy to turn out the people we love the most. It's easy to turn them away, to turn them off, to shut them down where they cannot hear anything that the mother is trying to communicate through you. Is it you just trying to prove you smart to your people and them, or are you being open enough to allow the mother to communicate through you? It will change how you speak. It will change how you teach. It will change how people receive what it is you have to say. That's what I'm saying. We have to do the dance. Am I leading with my ego right now? You feel me? Or am I allowing the mother to have her way with me because there's obviously something that she wants to communicate to this person through me, or they would not be in front of me. They would not have sought me out for divination or for wellness consults. They wouldn't have sought me out. Not with my little baby algorithm. Not with my little shadow band page. They wouldn't have found me if it wasn't her will. If she didn't have something for them that only I could communicate to their specific needs. Because there's 1,000,001 motherfuckers who got great channels, great content, who do divination, who read astrology. I don't read that shit. You feel there's 1,000,001 motherfuckers that they could have came to. Why me? And then the God in me, the God that is me, has to say, okay, mother, there's something specific that they need. Allow me to be open to communicate that free of my own ego. Can I do that? So anyway, dang, man, let me take a swig of my drink since I've been out here all this time and I knew I wasn't going to be out here. I knew I was going to be disciplined today, and I guess today was not the day. That was lovely. Let's see. I wouldn't blindly believe anything on the internet. Like she said, always fact check. Oh, that's awesome. QB said, I just got that from EcoSearch. I love it. Let's see. Miss Mahogany says, Carolinas has heavy storms. Papa Shango going to work. No, he ain't. Baby, that's your mother. I'm just saying, that's your mother. And I'm going to tell you that because I know there was several people mad at me yesterday. Even if y'all don't admit, I know there was several people mad at me yesterday when I was going through my he can get it list. When I was going through my he could get it list, and I even hesitated because I knew there was people I knew personally. There was people on the call that was going to be mad, but I was like, "Yep, Shango can get it. Aishu can get it.
Obatala can get it. Olodumare can get it too. Hold on. Ogun can definitely get it. I knew people was going to be mad. You feel me? And the reason I'm saying that, Miss Mahogany, is because you saying Papa Shango, but when I started talking about, Pluto and Aquarius as Oya and Shango, and they quote the power couple because that's how I was always taught the story. But then I started thinking about when I was talking to you guys about Kali, and how we always hear, I told you the story about Kali, and how we always see the nigga on the ground with her foot in his chest, you feel me? And he looked dead, and she got a nigga head in her hand. And then we was always told that this was Shiva. This was her husband, Shiva, who took it upon himself because she was wilding out of control, took it upon himself to lay himself prostrate in front of his boo and lift her foot up and put it on his heart chakra to draw the fire out of her head so she wouldn't be crazy no more. And I was like, damn, that's a lovely story. That's nice. That's real pretty, like, right? And then we find out, the YouTube video, the YouTube lesson that I was talking about by the young Indian girl who was putting us on game. She was, quote, demystifying Kali, and how Kali, as the great cosmic one, the great primordial beginning of all that is, was she by herself for a long, 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 long time. And I think it was I forget what I forget how to pronounce it, but it's like UPINSHADS, the Upshanads or something like that. But it was like the burgeoning cult of patriarchal. It was like this early beginning in the, primordial practice, not primordial, but like the pre-patriarchal practice of Hinduism, when you start to see these, quote, male gods that had never existed before. All of a sudden you start to see the emergence of these male gods. Kali obviously was the first to be dissected. So certain attributes of her story, right, were split off to create this trinity of the first trinity of Hindu tradition, which was Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. They took aspects of Kali that had long existed, stole them from her, and said, okay, now she got this male trinity, you feel me? That this male trinity that are going to be the governors of these specific attributes of hers. So, for example, Shiva, who now is not the byproduct of them fucking performing spiritual surgery on her to remove parts of her that they think are not that they think aren't ladylike. And so her destructive aspect becomes personified in the cutting away of that destructive aspect into her, what becomes her, quote, consort, which becomes her husband, Shiva, the destroyer, who dances destruction. Is that not her? Every time you see Shiva, it's called the dancing Shiva. Every time, every statue, it's called the dancing Shiva, where they lobotomized Kali, removed the chunk of her own identity that is the destructive, not only the destructive, the version of destructive that loves the revolutionary turn up. The dancing Kali who dances to save the world while she's in battle. This becomes Shiva. This becomes Shiva. Remember me telling you that? As soon as I heard this young woman talking about how this was a manipulation, that Shiva, they attempted to make Shiva not only equal to her, but greater than her. And the only way to do that was to make him her husband. You hear me? And I said, oh my God, it sounds like the story this one Babalao told me that was completely contradictory to every story about Shango and Oya I'd ever heard. And that story I was telling y'all, quick version, was Shango as the king, like supposedly according to the story, he was the only Orisha born as a human. And it wasn't until he was about to die that he became Orisha. But in the story, he was an actual king on the actual earth, supposedly. And at first he was well loved, well liked. He was suave, he was braggadocious. He loved the turn up and he loved wrestling. And so he started having wrestling matches
to entertain the kingdom. But as he gained more power, as he gained more attention, as he gained more reputation, he became more and more malignant. Sound familiar? He became more and more malignant. And so then what used to be just friendly matches between kingdoms and stuff, he started to demand that the matches be to the death. And people like, Shango, that's not right. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? That the people in his kingdom complained, like, why would you do that? Kabiesi, why would you do that? And he's like, I'm the king. I can do whatever I want. And in that attitude, he becomes more and more and more malignant. Until one day, these twins, I keep telling you about these goddamn twins that be turning up everywhere and not even think about it. These twin brothers, let me write it down so I don't forget it. These twin brothers come to the kingdom to do business. They ain't even there for entertainment. They came to do business. And Shango was like, oh shit, there's twins. He's like, damn. And he started plotting. And he says that the twins, the brothers, would not be able to leave the kingdom unless they wrestled, unless they participated in a match against one another. And the people in the kingdom were like, no, Kabiesi, don't do this. This is wrong. Don't do this. Don't make them do this. The men were like, we're not going to fight each other. You talking about fighting each other to the death. This is my brother. I'm not doing that. He was like, y'all are going to fight each other to the death. One of you are going to die, or both of you are going to die right here where you standing. And so under the threat of death, the brothers began to fight. And they fight until one of them dies. And as soon as the brother dies, the other brother, the way I was told the story, the other brother, his screams were so loud and so deep and so shocking that every woman in the kingdom began to scream. Every woman in the kingdom, heartbroken by listening to this man sob and wail over having been forced to kill his brother, that every woman in the kingdom began to scream. And as the women all began to scream, the way I was told the story was the screams of the women were so shocking that it was like Kabiesi was, Shango, Kabiesi was shaken out of a spell. And when he came, listen to what I'm telling y'all. The screams of the women of his village were so terrifying, so shocking, that he was literally like he had been shocked out of a spell. And when he came to and realized what he had done, he was so overcome with grief and shame and guilt at what he had done. And he recognized that he's the king. There's no one above him. There is no one to hold him accountable. Recognizing that no one could hold him accountable, he decided at that moment that he must end his own life. And so he leaves the kingdom and he goes out to the Iroko tree with the intention of hanging himself from the Iroko tree. And he climbs up the tree with the rope in his hand, and he throws the rope over the limb of the tree, wraps the other end of the rope onto his neck. And as he leaps off the tree, death is imminent because he done jumped. As he leaps off the tree, recognizing his intention, as he leaps off the tree, before he dies, but death is obviously imminent, that space in between, recognizing that death is imminent, because recognizing that death is imminent, at that moment that he leaps from the tree, but before he loses his life, Oya is said to have intervened in his death and prevented his death so that he had the ability to go straight to become Orisha. That is when he, quote, elevated to Orisha status, quote, returned to Olorun to become Orisha. That he couldn't die or he would have just become an ancestor. But the knowledge of death being imminent, as only Oya could intervene, she intervenes as the only one of 401 Orisha that exists in both realms, in the terrestrial realm and the ancestral realm, intervened in his imminent death so that he could become Orisha. The story is the way I was told by the one Babalawo in the 15 years that I was a devotee, is that this story is a metaphor. This is what a male Babalawo who had been an imam in Malcolm X's temple, you feel me, in Malcolm X's mosque. This Babalawo, many of you might know him, Professor James Small. Professor James Small told us in this lecture that this is not, he said, because a lot of people take the story literally. He said the story is a metaphor about what is required of men. That's what he said. What is required of men before they can become their God self. He said this story is a story about how a man must get to the end, recognizing that the only way that he can re-become God is to be willing to slay his own ego. That's the metaphor of Shango leaping, recognizing that the impact of what he had done, blind to madness with power, and the impact that it had on the people who trusted him the most, recognizing that none of them had the ability to hold him accountable, so he must take his own life. It was a metaphor for him slaying his own ego. And when Oya saw that what he was attempting to do, that he was serious about, slaying his own ego, she intervened to allow him to become his God self. There's also a metaphor in the story about the role of who Oya is to men, to males. So we had always been told the story that Oya and Shango were husband and wife, when in fact it is this only one Babalawo in 15 years said that they are not husband and wife, that Oya is his mother, that Oya was Shango's mother. I said, well, come on. And so as soon as I heard this story, and then recently I hear the story of this of Kali, and how we always thought it was Shiva, who placed himself on the ground to calm his wife down because she was going crazy. Know that story, if you have me tell it, was a prophecy of what is to come. That story is a prophecy of what is to come. That picture that we always thought was the husband and the wife, you feel me? Told that, okay, but bitches just be going crazy and shit, and so a nigga need to calm them down. That story, because who is Kali? Kali is Saturn. Kali is the planet Saturn, actually the planet Saturn. And if Kali is the planet Saturn and Shiva is her son, her malignant son that's been chopped off from her, you feel me? Then this story that you see in every picture of Kali, where her foot is on this nigga's chest and his ass is on the ground, is about her victorious subduing of her son in this future. Well, he will have become so rogue that he becomes a demon threatening to destroy the entire planet. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That picture, that image was a prophecy written in the stars, mathematically and scientifically precise, to say that there would be a period in the future where the sun would go rogue, and he would go so rogue that in his rogue state, completely forgetting that he has this intimate relationship with his mother, he will become the demon that threatens to destroy everything in existence. That's the demon that she had, his head in her hand. The demon who head in her hand is the same motherfucker that's under her foot. The demon threatening to destroy everything that she created. And she's like, not today. And so every time Durga, her gentle version of herself, her loving mother version of herself, didn't want to fight, but she's like, I got fight I can bring to the game. But she was too chill. She was too calm. She wasn't being very strategic in the fight she was bringing to the game. And so by the time she started wildly swinging that sword all over the place, everywhere his fucking blood hit the ground. Sound familiar? Everywhere his blood hit the ground, a fully grown new version of the malignancy that is him. He reproduces the malignancy that is him. By the time she starts swinging all over the place, rah, 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 she is subdued. She is run over by this malignancy that has metastasized all over the place. Sound familiar? And when she is at her wit's end, when she recognizes and conceives that she is overrun, she is overwhelmed, she's like, we still can't lose, bitch. This us. We created this. So her split personalities, her multiple personalities, Kali jumps out of her forehead and says, I got this. Y'all, the rest of us, y'all sit back and watch while I work. Watch while I work. Now it's going to take a whole nother strategy and level of maneuvering to regain control of our son gone rogue. If you stay, yes, the mythology is beautiful, but if you stay in this perpetual place, that anytime you are talking about these beautiful mythological stories, whether it's Oya and Shango, whether it's Kali and Shiva, it is still an astrological story about the mathematically precise scientific observation of the movements of these bodies in heaven. What are the identified things that happen on our planet when these big planets come into a relationship with one another, whether it's a sextile relationship or whether it's a trine relationship, whether it's a conjunction, whatever, that we have over 25, 50,000 years have charted that there are very peculiar behaviors that we can experience both in human beings and in animals, right? That correspond with these movements that we have now charted to the percent. So when we tell these mythologies, we still have to, you look cute. I love that dress. We still have to be aware that we cannot get caught up by the mythology. The mythology is an anthropomorphized way to explain complicated mathematical and scientific ideas. That when I'm talking about Shiva being subdued, because we was told that she was powerless in this scenario, that she was so wild and so crazy that she was threatening to destroy the earth herself, Kali. Isn't that what we were told? That she was so excited about the bloodlust. She was so excited about the bloodlust and the destruction and the war that she was just going crazy and actually threatening to destroy the whole planet that she created. That was a lie straight out of hell. And that once we can recognize that she is the beginning and ending of all that is. Every potentiality that exists came out of her body. She cannot. That's what she say. And so this story, we have been told that this is, quote, a husband and wife couple, you feel me? That's a manipulation that is very strategic, that they are equals, that they husband and wife, and he just loved her so much and saw her losing her shit like you bitches be doing, you feel me? That he was like, you know what, I ain't even gonna fight with her because she can't even hear me when she crazy like this, so let me just lay on my back and lift her foot up and put her foot on my heart chakra so I can draw that fire out of her head. I can bring her to her right mind. I can bring her to her right mind. But now that you recognize that this is a story based on astrology and astronomy and a prophecy, a foretelling of potentialities to come based on these scientific alignments in the heavens, that image is an image of the mother victorious, not in killing, because Shiva's still not dead in this image. Not the mother murdering her son, killing her son, but subduing her rogue son. Subduing her rogue son. He is alive under her foot. She's like, boo, I recognize that your ass done went way off in left field. I had to destroy these malignant versions of yourself, these malignant mutations that you just kept reproducing all over the place. They had to go. But you is my son. You are of my body. And so you can live. But it is worshiping at the lotus of my foot. That's how you can live. That's how you can live. That's how you can survive. That's how you can survive. That is no different, because in that image, in the quote, subduing of her rogue son, is synonymous with this story about Oya being the only one that can intercede in this malignancy that was Shango, blinded to the point of murderous madness in his acquisition and possession of power. And that only she could intercede on his behalf to allow him to become his God self. It's the same story. It's the same story. It's the same story. You feel me? That's why I said, Sister Miss Mahogany, it ain't Shango. It ain't Shango. He too stole the mother's attributes, boo. He too stole the mother's attributes. Any power that he has is because his mother willed it. So now I get it. I get it, because we are always told that actually Yemaya is Shango's mother. But we are also told in other stories that Yemaya is Shango's wife. You know what I'm saying? So, again, it's important to do this dance between mythology and science. It's important to do this dance between history and mythology and nice stories, and how that shit is being put in your face in real time in the political terrain that you think is real. And every single time it's been acted out, they told you in the past it's a play. In Rome, it was a play. In Greece, it was a play. Is it no less a play now? We saying now they just had better script writers back in them days. You feel me? All right. Let's see. Camp Mystic was built right on the area where the dams held back the Guadalupe River waters. Wow. When planning around ley lines backfires. Whoa. Whoa. Don't come for Cali. Our people act like they're ready to go to war when they are not in that position. So playing with radical tensions and projecting it on every situation is cap propaganda. Java Watson, you up on here tripping, girl. This love affair you got with goddamn California. Yes, I love California, but listen, multiple things can be true at the same time. I don't have no intention of leaving California no time soon. I love where I live, but I also have to be scientific and astute enough to know that I can't let no progressive professions coming out of somebody's motherfucking mouth catch me off guard of what I'm actually witnessing in real time. I can't do that. This is the most racist state I ever lived in. That is word. That's word. That ain't make believe. That's an actual fact. That's an actual fact. And then I have receipts for that. I have measurable moments in my entire life to discern against. You feel me? This shit is like a goddamn mirage out here. This shit is a goddamn mirage out here. You feel me? And unfortunately, a lot of the most brutal and vicious and evil motherfucking racists are just colored folks with goddamn white people living in their skull. That's all. And the person living in their skull, he got like swastika tattoos. The person, they black as the day is long. They chocolate as the day is long. They brown, they red, they yellow as the day is long. And the motherfucker occupying space in their skull has got motherfucking swastika tattoos on his face. He got a big ass swastika on his chest, you feel me? He got, you know what I'm saying? He got Hitler. He got a perfect image of Hitler doing the Heil, with the Heil Hitler thing. You feel me? He got the Iron Cross. You feel? He got all the things. And the person who he's sitting right the fuck up in is black with titties and wear cute skirts and got dope ass hair and dreadlocks. You feel me? So don't be, people used to do that shit to me out here. Like, how could you say that California is racist? These be white people saying this shit out there. What the fuck do you mean? How can I say California is racist? Well, I'm sure it was way worse in the South. I was like, and what's your frame of reference for that assessment? Have you been to the South? If so, where? How long were you there? You understand? What's your frame of reference to make such a definitive statement that would have you presume that me, being black and female, having grown up in the four, quote, most racist states in the South, and I come to LA and say it's the most racist state I've ever been, and somehow I'm delusional? Somehow I'm the one wrong. You ain't got no frame of reference. Plus, your ass is white. So what you know about racism? You ever experienced that? Has it ever had an impact on your life? But you gonna teach me that somehow it's my simpleton Southern, that somehow I'm just not smart enough to really see racism for what it is. So let me just teach you what racism really is. Like, hey, how you doing? Like, I know the subtleties. I know the very, 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 very well hidden subtleties and the overtness of it. Who better to articulate what I experienced in the world as not only racism, but patriarchal racism in the world, but me? Who else is going to teach me that? Me, being black and female up in this bitch. Anywhere I am in this bitch. Child, please. That shit happened so often when I got to California. Oh, poor thing. You can't be serious that it's more racist in California. Oh, for real? How many black friends you got? How many brown friends you got, white person? Trying to put me on game? Because I'm obviously, with my nappy hair and tattoos on my face, I'm obviously too stupid to understand what I feel in my body. You teach me, 25-year-old white girl, you inform me of what it is to experience racism in life. That's the kind of shit I'm talking about. How even under the auspice of progressive, the audacity, the unbridled arrogance, unbridled child, the forever know-it-allness, the ever-presence and assumption of genius just by virtue of being white-skinned, and your ass is a dumb as a box of rocks. Dumb as a box of, I ain't busted a grape in the real world, but your birth suit is what always has you think you are the smartest person in every room, in every space you enter into. Can't be quiet. Don't know when you are in the presence of one that you should be listening to or teaching. You don't have that level of discernment. Child, please. That shit happens so often out here. I was like, y'all motherfuckers is really off the chain. Y'all really have internalized it. White supremacy has never showed its face better than those who proclaim to be progressive. I'm trying to give y'all a word. In my experiences, white supremacy has never shown its face more clearly and more like audaciously and more certain, absolutely certain in your ignorance, absolutely certain in your not knowingness, absolutely convinced and certain in your lack of experience in anything in life. You ain't had no children, you ain't raised no kids. Hell, your ass don't even know how to take care of a pet. But you convinced that every space you walk into, you are the smartest motherfucker in the room. There ain't nothing you could possibly learn from nobody else in space. Ciao. So, I wasn't coming from California, but people better start opening their eyes or they will forever be led to a conclusion that is in opposition to their safety. They will be led to through the mouths of the progressive. I literally just read that shit to y'all the other day. When I picked up that book, which is based on a collection of speeches by V.I. Lenin, y'all most love socialists, on the emancipation of women, and he said it. He said the working class, the poor, the peasant, the slave, the serf, they ain't never been short on the enthusiasm to make a break, to stage a rebellion, to buck the system. The problem is that they do not have a collective worldview that guarantees anytime they buck the system, they are going to be the only one that benefits at the end of it. And the way that this is what he said in the late 1800s, child, that the reason that no matter how many rebellions, no matter how many revolutions started by the would-be proletariat, by the working class, by the workers in arms and all of this stuff, the reason that they never end, they ain't no better off after every rebellion they stage, is because the state knows them. The state knows how lowly they feel, how easily they accept blame and shame. So the state will take these insecurities that it has imposed on them, and every time they create a surge, a wave of potentiality that can win them something, they won't take the police and put them in front of the wave. They didn't do that. They didn't take the military and put it in front of the wave. They didn't do that. It was like, no, we need a soft hand to win them away from themselves. In the late 1800s, child, Lenin said that every single time, every single solitary revolution, rebellion, Every time you just see the class becoming conscious, becoming self-aware like that motherfucking robot. Every time you see the class on the brink of becoming collectively aware, every time you see them teetering right on the edge of a fucking evolutionary breakthrough that will benefit them for a change, all the state has to do is, this is what he said in the book, is put some artist, is put some poet, is put some musician, put some preacher, some spiritual leader in front of them to surf the wave until it subsides. That's what he said in the late 1800s. And here the fuck we are in 2025, watching the same shit unfold in real time. Every rebellion, every fucking demonstration, everything that feels in our bodies like it's really going to do something this time. We really going to win this time. And at the end of it, the state is stronger and your ass is poor. And more of you are in prison. And more of you get identified by the police to get disappeared off the fucking street and shit. Here he is, 100 years later. Lenin, that y'all love so much, is turning the fuck over in his grave. He was like, God damn, I done left books and everything. Why they still doing the same dumb ass shit over and over and over again? Why they keep doing that? Every time you stage what you think is a fucking rebellion, goddamn demonstrations. Every time you stage a rebellion, your bosses get richer. Ain't that about a bitch? Since 2020, since the George Floyd quote rebellions that was impacting people globally, everybody on the globe holding up George Floyd banners in South Korea and everything. And in that same period from 2020 to today, that same period where y'all think y'all really did something because y'all was out in the street for fucking for a year, 6 months, however long y'all was out in the street. That same year, there were 297 billionaires. 5 years later, George Floyd, black people, brown people, red, yellow people abused by the state, them numbers have increased 32%. State deaths by the cops, deaths in custody, violence against human beings at the hands of the state. You watching it in real time. This is the pinnacle of it in real time. This bullshit with ICE. In real time, in that same period of time that y'all was convinced y'all was out there about to change the world in these streets over George Floyd with no strategy, no plan, no end goal. This is the definition of victory at the end of this shit. Y'all ain't had that. Y'all just beat the street. You feel me? And y'all felt like the numbers of y'all beating the street was going to be impactful without no goals, without no objectives, without nothing to tie it to. And at the end of it, not only the George Floyd's family not getting nothing, the pig that had eventually gone to jail, this dude that's in office, the first order of business was to exonerate him, was to pardon him, his ass out of jail. The increase of state violence on regular everyday human beings, that's done increased. It had been only 31% until last month when the same dude, the militarized goddamn correctional officers, prison guards, and fucking bail bondsmen, and let them fucking loose in their sickness on the most vulnerable in these communities. It ain't just quote brown people getting hemmed up. The majority of the people that they are levying their assaults against are fucking women and children, pregnant women, old women, people by themselves. You feel me? Here we are 5 years later. The intensification of the aggressions against what the society has identified as the most harmless, because they cowards. They ain't staged no contest against people who, why would they? They see what happened in Israel. You can only be confident in your aggressions, quote, against others once you actually know that they don't have no weapons. That's the only way you're going to go in there like that, is if you a coward. But you have to first do the thing. You have to we are looking for weapons of mass destruction. We looking for an ever elusive enemy combatant and shit. And once we know for sure they are not there, this is when we levy. This is when we levy our aggression. When we know that through laws and guilting people out of getting rid of their guns, getting rid of any protection that could allow them to secure themselves in their own home, once we are certain, once we are sure that we have effectively waged this propaganda campaign, yo blue people, I'm just telling you, yo blue people, you feel me? While meanwhile, they know good and damn well that the opposition is not unhanding their shit, you feel me? Once we are certain that everybody is unarmed, then we come down like the plague. On of the unarmed, the most powerless among the unarmed, 82-year-old women, pregnant women, babies. They have been raiding elementary schools out here in California. I'm telling you, that ain't no make-believe. That ain't no conspiracy theory. They have been attempting to break into, in the day, elementary schools. One raid was these masked, unnamed, unidentified cars and shit on an elementary school and said, we need you to bring all the first graders to the auditorium. And the teachers was like, there ain't no motherfucking way. If y'all don't show no identification, if y'all don't tell us who the hell y'all are, we are going to assume that you are child traffickers. That's what these women got up on there and said we stopped them at the door. We refused to open the door all the way. We had one woman had her foot in the door. It was like, can you show us some identification? Do you have some warrants about why you want to, without adults present, speak to every first grader in this goddamn school? And do you know that them armed ass thugs turned right the fuck around in that parking lot and got in their cars and left? That happened. You understand? Raiding. They conducted so many raids across the city. Only schools that were brown. They raided these schools the last day of school when kindergartners, elementary kids, and middle school kids and high school kids were having their graduations. They strategically spread out through the city to target graduations. That happens all over the city. Graduations. So don't tell me. Here we are 100 years later. And in that same period of time, 2020, when them George Floyd, rebellions started popping off, in that same period of time that your ass is catching unadulterated hell in real time, you have been robbed blind, ceaselessly, uninterrupted. That same period, that same year, 297 billionaires in this country. 5 years later, there are 909 billionaires in this country, and you don't think that has a direct relationship to your increased fucking poverty. Everything is the issue but the goddamn issue, because y'all don't want to simplify. The state has to become more aggressive if these billionaires are going to be able to continue the broad daylight theft of your motherfucking wealth. Of course, you have to have a more radical, a more hostile, a more rabid at the mouth military force, because otherwise you would be coming to some conclusions about how these motherfuckers able to rob us blind. How there's 909 goddamn billionaires and there was just 297 5 years ago. No wonder I can't afford rent no more. No wonder I'm having to barter. You know what I'm saying? No wonder I'm having to debate my own bank. When I was just living okay, we was coasting a little bit. Now all of a sudden I got to debate with myself about whether or not I'm gonna buy these bag of apples. I got to debate with myself because I know my light bill coming up. And these motherfuckers done got so malignant that you can't even be late on your light bill 5 days before they talking about sending you a letter talking about we about to cut your shit off. You won't even have the grace period you used to have no more. You can feel in your body that your lived circumstances are getting more and more and more and more intense, more severe, more strenuous. And you can say that it is anything possible. It will come up with a million explanations for why this intensity in your own lived experience, much less what's happening to the rest of the world. And you'll come up with every excuse, you'll have a million excuses and a million ways to explain that shit, other than the fact that over 600 people made themselves gluttonly wealthy in 5 years. This is where your money went. All them mysterious taxpayer dollars you always talking about, bitch, that's where the fuck they went. All these extra hours you having to work, you think your side hustle ain't benefiting nobody but you lying, because all that side hustle money you spending somewhere. Everything that you have done, every ounce of energy that you have expended has ballooned the wealth of those who cannot be satiated. They cannot be satiated. That is the nature of a parasite. It doesn't matter how much they receive, it will never be enough until
it dies or it kills the both of you. That's the nature. That's what we're witnessing. This absolute necessary intensification of the violence of the state is required in order for billionaires to be safe and secure in their continued fucking robbery. The two are not mutually exclusive, baby. They are laying up in the bed with each other, cuddling each other. Shit. Ugh. I'm just trying to browse through quick y'all comments. Oh Lord. Anyway. No, that's good because I don't know what that was about. Balance. Why Sharknado? Girl, why Sharknado? I'm curious. Why Sharknado? Because I never watched it because the commercials look so violently corny. I couldn't even subject myself to it. Why Sharknado? All this deep ass shit we be talking about, movies I need to see. Why Sharknado? You're gonna have to tell me something because now I'm confused. Let's see. It's interesting because there was somebody on the call. I don't know if they're still there. They said they was out. I love you, Cass, but I'm out because everything I'm saying, you take it out of context, and I ain't arguing with you. I wasn't arguing with anybody either. You didn't think I was just because, but I'm always hyped, so I don't know how y'all thought I was arguing with anybody, but whatever. I cannot do. So I'm not going to, I already said, I may be wrong. Hit me up. Let me know. Send me the links. Let me check. Let me check the facts that you got. What else can I do? I can't be more diplomatic than that. Like, people be getting their feelings hurt too easy off some shit that first of all, taking what out of context? I didn't take anything out of context. I literally responded to certain things that I saw this person putting in the chat. I said, I only seen 5 of the dude's videos, so you may be right. Put me on. I said it 3 times. Put some links in the chat or email me so you can put me on game. Like, I'm just telling y'all, these things that seem seemingly insignificant, right? These things that seem seemingly insignificant, they're not insignificant. Because again, there is nothing that I said on this entire live that anybody should have taken as some kind of personal shot. Because if I had a personal shot, I would say your name and I would be like, nigga, fuck you. That's me. You feel me? Because y'all see me do it. If I'm done, it'll be like, yo, this ain't. Can y'all still see me? I don't know. They done sabotage my feed. Probably not. I don't know. Because I can't even. Damn, that sucks. Can't even see my comment section. That's wild. That's crazy. Well, I guess that's it.